No, we're gonna get going here.
Good conversation. Let's go a lot.
All right, here we go. Good evening. The November 20th, 2025 Whatcom County Planning Commission meeting is called to order.
Here.
I'll call the roll. Calvin Barton, that's me, I'm here. Red Brown,
Yep.
Daniel Dunn, here. Anita Eisenberg will be out tonight. Nicholas Grice. Nicholas Grice. Jim Hansen, here. Julie Jefferson,
Here.
Dominic Masseri,
Here.
Scott Van Dalen.
Here.
Yeah. Right. Please join me for the flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, it's time for department update. Planning Director Personius would give us the update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple brief things. We are gonna be briefing the county council on, your recommended, chapter 8 resource lands, recommendations on December 2nd at the committee of the whole. That's a special meeting at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I just want to give you a schedule update. We continue to be fluid. Tonight, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different proposals for you to make your preliminary recommendations on. That's 5 UGAs: Everson, Linden, Nooksack, Sumas, and Cherry Point, and then the rural and resource lands. The next meeting on December 4th, we're going to give you Thanksgiving off. Thank you. You're welcome. We'll have the Blaine UGA proposal and the Birch Bay UGA proposal both on December 4th, as well as the land use chapter 2. That's the goals and the policies, and because you will have already made recommendations on the UGAs, but they are also in chapter 2. But then December 11th, we need to make a sort of a quick code amendment regarding an issue on Lummi Island. The code is holding up a permit that would help the Meals on Wheels program on Lummi Island. So we've got a very quick, simple fix for that. Should be 5 to 10 minute hearing done.
3 hours.
Yeah, no. And then on the 11th also, we've got the appendices for the comp plan, as well as wrap up chapter 10 with finish your motions and recommendations on the chapter 10, the environment chapter. Then December 16th, that's the Tuesday, that special meeting we're scheduling on Tuesday, the 16th, would be chapter 3 housing. And that's when we will talk about the HAP tool, the housing affordability planning tool. We'll talk about those hearings board cases that are out there from the counties, the 2024 counties are starting to get appeals coming in. So we'll talk a little bit about that. That's mainly focused on affordable housing requirements. And then drum roll, we're still proposing that final meeting on December 18th this year for your final comp plan public hearing and recommendations. Hopefully.
Commissioner Masseri.
Should we schedule another Tuesday in before that, just to give us some leeway there?
Do we have another Tuesday?
No.
Well, let's see how it goes.
It all depends on the quorum. If we can get it.
Yeah. One of the things I was going to mention is that time is running short, and the cities are looking to get your recommendations tonight so they can move forward with their city councils and their mayors on their own comp plan updates, and want at least preliminary recommendations from the planning commission. So yeah, so it's important. I think that our ongoing meetings need to be as efficient, as possible to make sure we can make the schedule.
Commissioner Hanson, and then we have Red Brown.
Yeah, since this is the third time on some of these preliminary recommendations, can we call the penultimate recommendation?
I hope so.
Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to stress, I will do my best to be available for additional meetings as necessary. And then as far as the cities are concerned, Director Persones, what do we do about the fact that what Bellingham has presented to us is simply not financially viable? They're, and I'm still in the process of trying to write this up, but their proposal is based on the assumption they can raise an additional $133 million a year in taxes. And there's neither no funding mechanism for it, nor have they addressed the fact that the state's own analysis is it costs 50% more to build housing in Bellingham than Seattle. So what happens with it? I mean, this commission has already rejected Bellingham's proposal. What happens next regarding that?
Yeah, thank you for the question. You guys, the planning commission has made a recommendation not to recommend that proposal. That's in the record.
We did it.
That will move on to the county council. And along with all the other UGA proposals, with your recommendations on all the other UGA proposals. But that doesn't mean it's certainly not final. Those ultimate decisions are coming from the county council. And that's why I think they indicated their preference for that, or their support for that proposal early on. Part of that is because the city wants to amend or adopt their comp plan update by December 31st. And so they needed some assurance from the county that you were gonna approve that. So this is just kind of moving through that process to get there, but no doubt there are challenges, and we'll talk more about that when we talk about the housing element on December 16th as well.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps more than most commissioners, I understand the process in terms of the council gets to override anything that the planning commission does. But there's a recent, I think actually Commissioner Dunn sent this out, a recent MRSCS analysis that says jurisdictions can't propose stuff that there is no funding mechanism for. So if Bellingham has proposed a solution that they want us to buy off on, and it involves a funding mechanism that is not even authorized under state law, yet alone the fact that it's not affordable, then how do we move it forward with a recommendation?
We did. We said no.
No, I know that, but
We're
when we
gonna,
come to vote on the entire package, I just feel I'm just not clear what the next step is, Mark. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And again, we'll talk about this more on December 16th when we talk about the housing element, because that's where it really pertains to, is the funding, identifying funding for that very low income housing and permanent supportive housing component of everybody's allocations. And Bellingham has the largest share of that, obviously. That case, the City of Mercer Island case, and that was a Growth Management Hearings Board decision, it has been appealed by the City of Mercer Island. So it's gonna go through the courts, and it's gonna be a bit of unsettled law for a bit, which is not, unusual for us when we're going through GMA stuff to not know exactly black and white lines on what's gonna be approved or not approved if it was appealed. So that's as much as I can say about it. There's some uncertainty about it, but we that's another process, right? That's a part of the GMA process, is you can appeal these decisions and then they work through the courts, and those decisions can change or be upheld. So we'll just have to wait and see how that turns out.
All right, I've said my piece.
All right, any other questions for Director Personi?
I just wanted to add one more thing. I think Paula Harris is on tonight, from Public Works River and Flood. It's her day off, but we asked her to come tonight to answer if you guys had any questions about, flood issues, especially regarding Epperson, Nooksack, and Sumas, most impacted by those. So Paula is here, and I would say if you have any questions for her to get, if we can get those up front as quickly as possible, that would be helpful. Otherwise, we'll roll through the cities as on the agenda, and then deal with those one by one. We aren't proposing to make any presentations. The city staffs are here, the city planning staffs are here. I believe 3 of the mayors are also online. John Perry and Kevin Hester, and there's one additional mayor that should be joining us. So,
Yes, Mark, Mayor Bosch is having trouble connecting. Eileen, could you send a new invite to him?
Yes.
okay, so Mayor Bosch from Sumas will also be here. Again, if you guys have any specific questions for those specific city UGAs.
Commissioner Masseri.
If there's any changes, can they spotlight those to us?
Yeah.
Yes,
So we don't need to go over the whole proposal
Right,
yet, but if
right.
they just quickly say, okay, these are the things that are different from anything you've seen before. If there's no changes, then great.
they can say that. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else for Director Personi?
Well, question,
Go ahead.
just what time is the 12/16 meeting, the special meeting?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock here, okay.
Oh,
It's a Tuesday, but it's a 6 o'clock. We haven't proposed any daytime meetings yet.
I
Got
wanted
it.
to be sure
Thank you.
that all of you would still make.
more
Yeah.
possible. All right, so now it's open session for public comment. Eileen, would you take over, please?
Yes. It looks like we have 4 attendees. Welcome to the meeting, all of you joining in online. There is no public hearing tonight, so you can speak on whatever you wish. You'll be given 3 minutes, and I will start with Richard May. I just want to remind all of you that this is being recorded and will be uploaded to the website. Okay. Richard May, would you like to speak at this time?
Yes, hello. Okay, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, great. Yeah, this is Richard May from Blaine City Council. I just wanted to just plant some seeds with you here to for things that are going to be dealt with later. So at this time, Blaine does not have all the T's crossed and I's dotted regarding our request to have our city footprint move a little bit to the west of to include some of the area that's in between Birch Bay Village and current West Blaine Samiamo area. But I just wanted to get this onto your radar because some of the pros and cons are being talked about. And basically, some of the people in the Birch Bay and Birch Bay Village area are concerned that if more development goes in that area, what's going to happen with stormwater and runoff and such. But the development would actually improve that area because instead of the runoff just coming down through the undeveloped area at will, the appropriate channeling would happen, and also the water would be improved. We'd have some natural things like ponds with cattails and natural vegetation that does some filtration plus other treatment. And again, the developers having to put in the channeling would mean that in heavy amounts of water, it would get to the right place as desirable. And there's also a lot of advantages for that area coming into Blaine in the future. And I just was kind of planting those seeds now with you. The owner of that property and the city of Blaine would both like to bring in some of that area. There is some natural unbuildable areas there, so there would be wildlife corridors and significant landscape buffers. The area that's closest to where we've got Samiamo West Blaine, we've got a lot of very nice homes that are golf course adjacent and such. And so if some homes the closest to there that could go in would be of that kind of quality, but down the hill a little bit we could be looking at some higher density and potentially more affordable housing to go in. And all of this is within the context of now Blaine's voters have just voted overwhelmingly to de-annex the part of East Blaine that we should never have really had, that had a big aquifer recharge pond up there. Wasn't really buildable, but it was platted for something like 1,000 homes. And so with that out of the picture, now we're back to where we are doing quality infill in Blaine, but we are hoping to look at accepting the owner of the property in between Birch Bay Village and West Blaine Semiahmoo to try and welcome them into the city in the future. And so I hope we can look forward to that, and that discussion will increase later. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Guyer, do you wish to speak at this time?
That's brutal, spot on.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Bill Guyer. I am certified by the American Institute of Certified Planners, and I'm representing Julie Carney, owner of 20 acres at 4610 Lincoln Road in Birch Bay. My June 1 letter to the director provided SEPA and Comp Plan Appendix C amendments to meet the GMA affordable housing requirements and presented Ms. Carney's commitment for her 20 acres at 4610 Lincoln Road as an affordable housing site for the 0 to 80% income band by returning that property into the Birch Bay UGA. The August 22 Birch Bay UGA review report by staff made no comment on our proposal, and at the Commission's September 11 public hearing on the Birch Bay UGA, my June 1 letter and documentation was not provided to the Commissioners, and no discussion occurred on that request. The October 30 Commission agenda included the Birch Bay UGA, as you know, but no discussion occurred because you ran over on other items. So let's review. Julie Carney commits her 20 acres for affordable housing for the 0 to 80% income band. It was removed from the Birch Bay UGA in 2009. It fronts Lincoln between Harborview and Blaine, which is SR 548, and the Comp Plan Capital Facilities element calls for constructing that arterial. The site is served by Birch Bay Water and Sewer District Water. Construction drawings for water and sewer plans were reviewed by Birch Bay Water and Sewer for a proposed assisted living facility, but was not built due to COVID. And stormwater analysis is complete, and it's served by North Whatcom Fire District site. Table 7 in the Birch Bay UGA land capacity analysis documents the need for 702 housing units for the 0 to 80% income band, and states that there is a capacity for 721 units in the proposed UGA. Where are they? The sites are not defined. This is simply an aspirational goal. But by adding 4610 Lincoln to the Birch Bay UGA assures that 200 to 300 housing units for the 0 to 80% income band can be developed. The property owner is committed. The GMA requires affordable housing sites. So let's make this happen for Birch Bay. So our specific request is that all information we've provided to date be included in the December 4 Planning Commission meeting that you've just stated you'll be reviewing the Birch Bay UGA. Our proposal should be reviewed in its totality so that the county can meet its affordable housing requirements in GMA, and specifically we can serve residents in the Birch Bay UGA that are in much need of this type of housing. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you for your comment.
Well done.
Any other attendees that are watching it online? If you wish to speak, please raise your hand. Seeing no other hands, Chair.
Thank you, Eileen. Time now for commissioner comments. Any commissioner comments? Commissioner Brown.
Yeah, I'd like to follow on what Bill Guy said and make sure those materials, I'd like to make a motion those materials are included in the packet.
Okay, then you wait just a little bit longer,
Yep. Just
to
going
get
through
into out of commissioner comments, but we'll note that you are planning that motion, and I will, I'll make sure that you get get on there, Commissioner Brown. Any other commissioner comments? Okay, and so now it's time to move on towards the meeting topic. And Commissioner Brown, if you would like to make your motion now, let's work on it.
Yeah, so I move that we include the materials that Bill Geyer spoke of in the next packet, or in the packet relevant to the topic.
Now, go ahead. Now, Vermont.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, perhaps Mr. Geyer could go ahead and resubmit everything that he has submitted that he wants in the packet, just so we have what he wants in there, so.
Go ahead.
I'm in support of that motion, but isn't that new business rather than just the top of the agenda?
It's, I don't know if we need a motion or not. We're happy to do it. If you want, yeah.
Commissioner Sarah.
Oh, I guess we don't have a second.
I can second it. If you,
Go ahead, Commissioner Sarah.
Yeah, I don't recall us normally having stuff in the packet that are just outside proposals that we're getting from people. It seems like a bad precedent to start, or else we could vote to have a whole lot of stuff brought into these packets. I think we should get all the information sent to us, but I don't remember, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't remember this kind of thing getting put directly in a packet before.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yeah, because then we could make a motion at Birch Bay, because hey, I motion to bring, Lincoln Street or whatever, this address in at that meeting. I think we've seen, Bill sent the stuff in his public comment, I read some of the stuff. And I, even if it's not in the packet, we can still motion it. So yeah, I guess I don't know if it needs to be in the packet. I feel like the packet sort of thing comes from staff and, it's got a certain layout and whatever.
And Director Personas, did you talk about, were you just a few minutes ago or a few moments ago?
We can, if Bill submits this stuff to us, to Matt can just forward it onto the planning commission separately outside the packet for your consideration.
so then we don't need a motion?
Then we don't need a motion.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bill,
Actually, the most appropriate way.
That's
yeah,
fine.
Eileen, go ahead.
Because there was a motion and second, it would need to be withdrawn.
Okay,
No, I'll withdraw it if we know it's happening. So
I'll withdraw the second.
okay, thank you. Okay,
Next meeting, we talked about it. Yeah. Lyndon?
we're ready.
Um,
Go ahead, Commissioner Dunn.
Yeah, I guess, to frame the conversation, I guess if we could talk a little bit about the land capacity analysis methodology, the final version of the draft, just to give a quick overview, because I think that relates to a lot of the conversation here. So broadly, and thanks Mark for sending that out, we're going to finalize that. My broad takeaway is that jurisdictions have a lot of latitude to put kind of whatever number they want to in their density and in their numbers, and that Commerce sent an email, and they said, essentially, when you're looking at UGA expansion, the only thing that matters is do you have enough housing, like housing numbers, your population isn't quite as important. To summarize everything down into the elevator speech. So when I look at these, I guess what I say is when I'm looking at the UGA proposals, I was more concerned about the population, you've got this big population allocation for these UGAs, and you're just kind of barely in the housing, whatever. But I'm assuming that if what the email said is accurate, and from looking at those two decisions in Mercer Island, Kentucky County, where they really pointed to the fact that those two jurisdictions did not allocate enough housing, not create enough housing for low income groups. That was the main takeaways for me for both of the cases. That really we should be focusing on is, are the jurisdictions planning for enough housing? And the numbers that are behind the scenes, in the land capacity analysis methodology, they can kind of do whatever they want. They got plenty of room to pick a number or do whatever it is. So I don't think I want to get into the details. We can definitely pop open the spreadsheets and start looking at Excel numbers, but I think for me, that's enough to be I don't think the North Years Management Board is going to be really focusing on well, did you use this particular number or that particular number? And more so, it's going to be, did you provide enough housing for low income areas, for low income kind of people? Yeah. That's what I thought.
Yeah. Thanks, Commissioner Dunn. this is interesting because this is the first time this HB 1220 has been implemented, right? And we're the first wave of cities and counties to do it. And so in the old days, right, pre 1220, you had a population allocation, then you did your land capacity analysis and you figured out, okay, can I accommodate that population or not based on my preferred densities? And do I need to expand or not? And then now, 1220 comes in and the HAP model from Commerce. And what that does is it builds in an excess capacity to provide affordability, right? And that's built into the model. So it has for Whatcom County, it has a 6% vacancy rate built in countywide. And we know vacancy rates vary widely, right, in the county from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. But it also built in and said you had to account for homeless population, which you never had to plan for before. And you had to account for existing overburdened populations. Those are the households that pay more than 30% of their monthly income for housing. Existing, right? So you're counting not only your 20-year growth in this population allocation, you're adding to that with these other things. And so that's where it appeared to be out of whack, right? Early on, like, oh, well, you're oversizing these UGAs or because you've got way more capacity than you need just based on a pure population. And so, and the persons per household were one number versus every jurisdiction has a little different persons per household. So that changed how we go about this. And that's why this discrepancy between the capacity numbers for units and the population allocation.
Commissioner Hampton.
Well, I've been reading on this law too, and it seems to me that there's two ways to go about providing for more housing. One is to go laterally and the other one's to go vertically. And if we want to talk about low income people, capacity to pay for a place to live, we're talking about very, very cheap apartments, meaning we need to talk about density because spreading out laterally just provides more room for middle income to upper income housing. There's no guarantee it will provide any low income housing. So I think the thing we need to do is we need to make sure that the zoning is dense enough to accommodate the lower income housing.
Commissioner Dunn.
And I guess to expand on that, I've been keeping a spreadsheet of all the proposals, and then I went through, compared it to the county HAPT report, and it looks like I'd agree with Jim in that, like, just because we say we're gonna build something doesn't mean they're actually gonna build it. And the stuff for like the least expensive housing is gonna be on the least expensive land. It's gonna be as dense as we can in those areas. So we definitely need to consider that. But when we look at the overall numbers, so when plopping the numbers into the county HAP tool, right off Florida Commerce, it's the 0 to 80% capacity. What the HAP tool says we need is 22,300 basically, and what we have is 22,350. So we're on the money for there. For the 80 to 120%, the HAP says we need 4,554, and we're at 7,000. So we're got plenty of capacity at that.
Talking about.
And then for the 120 plus, HAP says we need 8,720. We've got 14,602. And so the total house needs though, at 35,000 for the HAP, and then we've got 44,000. That's our current capacity. And I think the one big asterisk is that this is with Blaine's proposal from, months ago. It's not really their proposal anymore. So that's, the little asterisk on that one. So overall, we are meeting the lower income needs, and we're exceeding for the moderate housing and higher income housing needs. So I guess I look at it and say, if we want to divvy them up in different ways, Linden versus Bellingham versus Ferndale, like we kind of talk about that. But I would say overall, to me, this sort of meets, like, if the goal of the HAP was you got to designate these number of houses, like in these areas and plan for this number of houses, I think we're kind of doing it. Yes.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that study.
Yeah, I can send this around to people.
Okay, sure.
I have a question for the city of Linden. Do you have any changes from the last time we've seen your proposal?
Hi there, Heidi Goody with the City of Linden. We do not have any changes from our previous proposal. The UGA is going to remain the same for the next 20 years.
I'd make a motion that we accept Lynn's proposal.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Dunn.
And there were some that we already voted on, right?
There was, but I believe they have changes.
Okay,
We did,
They sent them back and then they made
didn't approve them.
That's right.
got it.
So we haven't approved anyone on this list. There was a couple that we didn't approve, but then they've come back with changes.
Okay, great, perfect. Yeah, I speak in favor of the motion.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, Eileen, will you call roll, please?
Yes, Brown,
Sorry, I couldn't hear the motion.
to approve the City of Linden's UGA proposal.
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jefferson,
yes,
Osari,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
passes.
Commissioner Dunn.
I think so that Paula can hopefully enjoy the rest of her day off.
Yeah.
I would like to dive into some stuff that might be in her area there. Todd made some public comment about floodplains and he had some pretty specific questions. And I was wondering if we could kind of go over those. And also ecology sent us a letter, and I was wondering if we go over that. So, Paula, I don't know if you want to just kind of like speak for a little bit on those two items, the public comment from Todd Donovan, if you've seen that one, and letter from ecology, or if you want me to kind of walk through it, or what your thoughts are.
yeah, I'm not familiar with Todd's comments. I'm just here to answer questions, really. So if you have some,
Sure, sounds good. Okay, so, should we be concerned about how the Growth Manager Hearings Board will view expanding UGAs into ag and rural lands and floodplains? He is asking about the difference between the draft SFHA 2024-2025 flood designations are versus the 1.2x by 100-year maps, hence some of these questions. So I think his question starts off around, we've had flood maps for a long time, and now that's being changed this year. I think there's two parts of it. One is that are we like statutorily required to use the updated flood maps, or two, are we voluntarily use those flood maps? And then I think the other part of this question is, how do those flood maps impact the UGAs? Are we putting land into the UGAs? And I would say I'm not agreeing with Todd's like where he's going with this thing here. I just think it's a valid question, and so I'm asking it in that sense.
well, as you know, a flood engineer for the district, flood district, I would just, say definitely the new maps from FEMA are based on much better information than the currently effective ones. So, the flows went up. They're just much better information. So that's kind of a minimum. And, I think it's prudent to plan for climate change, especially when you're thinking about putting more stuff in harm's way. So, 1.2 is totally appropriate in my mind. I mean, we're seeing climate change here now, so.
And when you say 1.2 and he said 1.2, what does that mean?
What that means is, our best guess of what we expect climate change to look like by the middle of the century, we approximate by taking a 100-year hydrograph and multiplying it by 1.2. So we jack it up by 20%. We also ran the end of century, the 2080s timeframe, and that's about a 1.75 flood. So, I'm living in a 110-year-old house. I don't know if they build things like they used to, but it's a time frame to plan for.
And then the proposals we're seeing tonight, and you might not know this specifically, but somebody I'm sure does. Do all the proposals tonight have that updated floodplain overlaid on the UGAs?
Yes.
They do. So we're looking at the maps tonight. We got the new floodplain on the UGAs.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we mapped both. So there were two sets, right? There's an existing, what's called the effective floodway, which is the currently adopted FEMA maps that were modeled based on Paula told me 1999 model. And then the draft is the draft FEMA maps based on the model of the 2021 floods. And then there's another,
The currently effective maps are based on like a model built in like 1977 from cross sections that were surveyed the year I was born. So, and I'm getting ready to retire here, so they're really old. The new maps are based on something from 2015, which are not even current for the river we have today. So our river changes really quickly. That's part of the problem.
Commissioner Brown.
Paula, when you say 1.2 or 1.75, you talking about frequency, you're talking about elevation?
No, we're actually taking the flow data, right? So we're inflating the whole volume of that hydrograph by multiplying every point on that hydrograph by 1.75. And that was based on work done by University of Washington, where they've done all this, global climate change modeling, and then they scale it down to our basin. So between UW and Western Washington, they had the global models were at UW, and then they scaled them down at Western Washington. So those factors we developed in collaboration with the scientists there.
Right, but I'm still trying to work out how to use the number. Are you saying that for 100-year flood, for example, it's going to happen 20% more frequently, or it's going to be 20% worse?
20% worse. It's going to be higher in peak and volume.
So allowing for volume, allowing for topography, contours, it'll go, let's assume everything's linear. It means it's going to be 20% higher than it was before.
Well, not necessarily higher. Those maps map it out. So I think the maps that Mark included, I think they include the 1.75. I don't know if they include the 1.2. I'm not sure which ones they do include, but they just show a little bit extra flooding past the draft FEMA mapping. The 1.75 will go a little bit further in places where it's flat, and that flow matters.
yeah, well, in the right end of packets, it's the on the draft, it has there should be two sets for each UGA, and it'll have the draft, and it'll have a Nooksack 1P75X 100-year flood.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Thanks.
Commissioner Brown.
And then I think along with that, Ecology sent us a letter. And they said, hey, Planning Commission, you're doing a great job. We appreciate this specifically. Want to commend the cities for doing things. It's great. And we're concerned about this. It's UGA expansion to the floodplain. Recognize GMA has some exemptions that can allow UGA expansion to the floodplain. However, we strongly discourage any expansion into any floodplain areas in Whatcom County, include Sumas River as experienced 2021. Flooding the county is widespread. Few roads are sufficiently elevated to provide effective emergency management during flood. And what they define it as, expansion of the floodplains is defined in this letter as areas included in the Federal Emergency Management Agency preliminary firm maps for Whatcom County published September 30th, 2025, previously referred to as the draft map. So when they make that specific statement, those maps the same ones that you're talking about?
Yeah. So, I think and they refer to a letter that I sent you back in February of 24, where I basically, when you guys were just getting started with this whole comp planning process, the floodplain integrated planning steering committee and I worked on this letter that we sent, and I basically explain in there why those new maps are so much better than the old maps. And one obvious reason is because the old mapping was based on like a 53,000 or mid 50,000 CFS 100-year flow, where the new one is 25 or 50% higher. It's 75,000. So, we have a lot more flow data. The 100-year flood peak went up. Again, those old maps were based on cross sections surveyed in the year I was born, and I'm ready to retire. So the topography has changed a lot, even in the last 5 years. So the new maps are just better, and they're based on more data, more recent data, and better science, much better modeling too.
Commissioner Masseri.
Just to speak to your question, the maps that are in here, so we have two. We have one that's the effective, and I have one that shows the draft 2024-25, and then the 1.75. But I believe that the cities are only required to plan to the effective flood map, and that's why some of the stuff that they're saying is not in the floodplain, because it's not in the current map. That even though it looks like it is on these other ones. Am I understanding that correct?
Oh, well, I think you'll have to get the confirmation from that from the cities, not from us. I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I know that is an argument. I can tell you that, from the county's perspective, we have to use best available science. And that's going to be the draft maps, not the effective maps. Since we know they're proposed by FEMA, we're going to rely on FEMA to provide the best available science, and this is what they propose. So we're going to rely on the draft maps.
Commissioner Van
So is that the 1.2?
No, it's the draft.
It's the draft, okay.
Yeah.
Which was previous to the 1.2, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's what everybody's been working off of.
I think we'll let the cities say it, but I thought they said this before. I think this is the effective one.
Okay,
This is the draft one,
yeah,
and then this is the 1.75.
five,
Right.
yes.
That was page 2.
It's a different color,
Yeah,
yeah.
the very light blue.
We'll let them speak for themselves.
Yeah,
I think this
so.
is the one that they're planning off of.
Well, should we ask each city just to kind of resolve this issue? Ask Everson, Nooksack, and Sumas which ones they're working off of? Can we ask that?
So I'm gonna, I'll kind of answer that. I think if we're gonna do that, I have no problem with it. I think it's a good idea. But I think we should take them one at a time then and process each.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay. So we're on to Everson.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
go ahead, Commissioner.
Show us the screen, okay? I'm trying to find it on my laptop. I can't find it.
Matt, can you bring up the Everson
That's not Nooksack.
UGA proposal? And here. Alex, do you or Mayor Perry want to? Talk a little bit about that?
Regarding like flooding, do you want to have that discussion? I'm not sure if Mayor Perry would want to speak on that.
Let's see the map. There it is.
Yes, Alex, I can hop in on that one. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
yep.
Okay. Hey, so in regards to, we have one parcel that has been in our UGA reserve for, I think, the last 2 planning cycles, and we're proposing to bring it into the UGA in this one. In our effective maps, it is not in the floodplain. A portion of that property was in the floodplain, but we eliminated that from our UGA ask. But in the preliminary maps that FEMA released in, I believe, January of 24, prior to this, or January 25, I believe, I can't remember exactly when, but prior to our planning cycle starting, it was not in the floodplain. Everson has done quite a bit of hydrology work to look at where our city floods. And in this parcel, we've looked at it for the 100-year flood, which we just had, and that property was dry. And we also went to the 1.2 and the 1.75. We've, during the 2021 flood, we hit 74,000 CFS, cubic feet a second, and we've modeled it at 94,000 CFS, 100 and I think 5,000 CFS, and then 130,000 CFS, and it only starts to see water at about 105,000 CFS, and it's very little. Those maps are on our city website. You can look at them under flood information. That's the, for us, that data is based on 2022 river data, not 2016. And so that was the reason we based our decision on that data to bring this property in, that it looks good. And also that trapline road, which abuts that property, is our only exit out of town to the north. That's the only area of our community that stays dry that we can exit to the north during a flood event. So just there's questions about the property, but I just wanted to give a little bit more background on our rationale for bringing it in during this proposal. If you have any questions, I'm available to answer them.
Commissioner Dunn, go ahead.
Matt, could you make that quite a bit bigger, the map, and then put your cursor over the thing? Like, I think I see what we're talking about. I just want to see it like in a little more detail on the screen there, if that's okay. Ooh, you got a laser pointer.
I do, but it doesn't work on the screen. Interesting.
So and so specifically the areas that you were talking about, John, this is Dan. John, the area you're talking about that you said would not be wet except up to 105,000 cubic feet per second, is the area that is in the floodplain there.
So I believe this map you're showing is the effective floodplain. Yeah, so it's what we currently have in place right now, and it shows that the property that we're looking at bringing in as being out of the floodplain. Our maps are consistent with that effective floodplain. The new maps show it getting wet in a 100-year proposal, in a 100-year flood. And I think that is still, oh no, that's the I think that's the new one there. And it doesn't quite, just from what we've witnessed in the 21 flood. I mean, that was the route we evacuated people and school buses out through that route down Trapline Road. And it was, there's quite a big change in elevation there. And all I'm saying is that's what we based our data on, for bringing this in.
Thanks, John. And then Matt, I'm sorry, but could you put your cursor over the property that we're talking, like the specific, that one there? So that's the one that we're going from UGAR into UGA.
Yep.
Yep. And the one that's directly below that, that's in the floodplain, is currently UGA, proposed to stay UGA. And then the one to the right is currently UGA, proposed to go to ag.
To the left.
I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic.
Yeah.
To the left, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the two down below on Scott Ditch are UGA now, but now in the new floodway, so they're proposed to be de-designated and go back to ag.
Okay. So then the one that, John, that you were talking about, that you guys model and the stage relatively dry, is that one there with the cursor on it?
Yes, the one below that is part, it would be a expansion of our Riverside Park property there. So that current UGA, and that we're looking at that as being kind of flood mitigation, flood storage, and park expansion. Keep that natural is the plan. And it gives us a good amount of width after coming through the bridge between kind of bank to bank on the river to be able to kind of mitigate flooding in that area.
So it looks
I think
like
it's
to me
over 1,000 feet wide.
Okay, it looks like to me like, so maybe in response to the new maps, you're removing some areas from the UGA that are in the floodplain. You're keeping a UGA as UGA, an area that's partially in the floodplain, but the use might be such that it's not at a high risk of people dying because they're in the floodplain. and the area that you're moving from UGAR to UGA looks to me like it's pretty far outside of the flood map that ecology referred to and that I think Todd Donovan referred to. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Great.
Commissioner Masseri,
I make a motion to accept Everson's proposal.
I can second that.
we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Go ahead.
I guess my question is, how does the added UGA area compare with the projected housing population and housing needs? To what extent do you already have adequate land for population and housing without subtracting what you're subtracting and without adding anything?
I can speak to this.
Yeah, I will let Alex defer to that as far as the technical data. I can speak to it on a more down to earth, but I'll let Alex go first.
Yeah, so our current city UGA, without these proposals, we actually have a deficit in housing. So with these proposals, which those spreadsheets I had sent you, include those proposals, and there is a small surplus, and we've been able to actually reduce that a little more. I think the one I had sent you, the Planning Commission was a surplus of 96 people. I believe now it's down to in the 70s. And that's really just the reality of trying to plan for a small town and plan accurate densities while also trying to accommodate low income housing. But yeah, without these proposals, the current Everson UGA, as our current density stand, we would not be able to support low income housing without that.
Go ahead, Commissioner Dunn.
Yeah, just to be more specific about it, so Everson from their proposal dated October 17th, they've got a surplus of 12 on their 0 to 80, a surplus of 19 units, 80 to 120, and a surplus of 66 units on their 120 plus, giving an overall surplus of, yeah, as Alex said, 96, which is pretty slim to be over a 20-year planning period.
Commissioner Hampton.
Well, I just noticed that you said that we don't have adequate land, we don't have adequate capacity without increasing densities. What steps have you taken to increase densities?
We have taken some steps to increase densities. We've made our lot sizes smaller, minimum lot sizes smaller. I mean, I think the position of the city is we don't want to have super high densities in the floodplain. And that's why we are proposing these UGA expansions to, yes, have those higher densities, but not encourage it in the floodplain.
Makes sense.
Go ahead.
Well, since most of your city is outside of the floodplain, it looks like from the map, how is that pertinent? What about increased density in existing areas of your city?
Yeah, and we're sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
No, these are great questions. Yeah, we're infilling a lot. I don't know if people have been to driven through Everson recently. There's a lot of development happening, and they're these townhouses developments. I mean, there's definitely a lot of infill, and we're encouraging that infill and increasing our densities. I mean, even in the land capacity tool that we used, we have pretty high densities for a nature of a small city.
Roland Harper, go ahead.
Yeah, this is Roland Harper. Just to add to what Alex said, over the last 2-3 years, the Everson Council has been very willing to consider the increased density question. And we've pushed that, and the mayor can confirm this, by lowering minimum lot sizes and increasing lot coverage allowances. We also instituted planned unit development regulations that allowed for variations in housing types and lot sizes. So the most recent examples of that is something called Everson Meadows, where they were achieving 10 units to the acre. It's a former low-income housing site that's been redeveloped. So I give Everson Council high marks for being willing to, let us as staff push them towards higher densities. And that's what's being achieved in really a tremendous building boom with a mix of different housing types, in Everson right now. Thank you.
Ready? Should we vote on motion?
Hey, Eileen. Call
Done.
roll, please.
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Wasseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
passes.
Okay. Move on to Nookside.
Yep. Go ahead, Commissioner Day.
Can the representatives from the city of Nooksack explain any changes they've made since last time we've seen their maps?
Yeah, Roland Harper here. And of course, Mayor Hester's on the line as well. Just to clarify a couple of items, our areas are numbered, and area number 8 was, you may recall, is this small 2-acre area that is anticipated for the relocation of a church. And based on mapping adjustments, the size of the area has been made slightly more squat so that it's outside of the floodplain. And so that area has been adjusted slightly in its mapping, still around 2 acres. There's also been a clarification for area number 6, which is right along the state highway. And when we had originally put our proposed shape back a year ago, let's say, the area measured 7 acres, and it got trimmed down through the EIS process to line up with some parcel lines. So the remapped, remeasured acreage is down to under 5 acres. So the total area that's for Nooksack that's in the agricultural zone is the 5 acres of area 6, 2 acres of area 7, which is 2 1-acre residential parcels, and then the 2 acres for the church, which is area 8. So that's the only change that we've got at this time. But all those areas, 6, 7, and 8, are out of the floodplain. They were, intended to be so. And the only other thing I would mention is that area number 3 has been in our UGA reserve, and that's like a plateau with side slopes that go down to the floodplain. But the usable area is well up out of the floodplain. It's been in the UGA reserve, and it's really something that, as the mayor can confirm, we need area for job growth. And Nooksack's population is it's already happening. The growth is happening, but we've tried to target the job growth to be at the appropriate ratio per the consultants. 4 people, 1 job for every 4 people is the historic ratio. So that's what our job growth is pegged on, the consistent ratio. And if we don't end up with that UGA reserve converted to UGA, then we're really going to cut in half our employment growth areas.
Right, Commissioner Masseri.
Yeah, we got sent a separate map outside of this proposal. I can't remember when, but it It was for, it says October 17th, but I'm not sure that that just didn't get changed because there's another one in the packet that says October 17th, but it has the red lines on it that it shows where you shrunk number 8. But it also shows that down at the bottom left, that one was shrunk a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a, well, would be akin to a Scrivener's error. That is an existing UGA. It's a ball field for the middle school. And on some map, and I can't say where, whether it was the county or the Nooksack proposal, the shape was just a little bit too large. But the UGA only includes the ball field. So it was just corrected to just include that ball field parcel.
So is the map that I got sent, Eileen, I don't know if you can speak to when, is that one that showed the little correction on number 8 and that one and that correction there, is that the most accurate one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we just haven't updated these.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And just for the record, is that I've got a map in front of me that's called the Nooksack UGA Reserve Proposal Addendum dated October 17th, 2025, revised map 2. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yes, and I see 2 spots on it that show a red revision.
It's that one, that revised map.
Matt, can you bring that up, please?
Well, mine even looks different than that one. That's why I was questioning the date.
So
But it shows these.
what's the email date?
Little red marks, yeah,
The 19th?
So they, I think they updated.
19th yesterday.
and didn't change the date, okay.
Oh.
It was sent to the planning commission.
I think.
Okay, let's see.
But the map itself is dated October 17th.
And I question if that's the correct date, because the one in our packet also says October 17th.
No, yeah, they just didn't
saying.
correct the date.
I think they just didn't change.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what should it be, October?
Well, and this one also says revised map 2. Does the other one say revised map 2?
No. Mine says proposed.
Proposed map too.
I say,
Yes, the other one says proposed map, not revised map.
There it is, right there on the screen.
oh,
Well,
it was there.
Okay,
And I think you're right that just the date did not get updated, but it's a very recent map that it tried to show those minor corrections and or adjustments.
I see, that is
Okay.
different, that is different, yeah.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Hampton.
I hope I got this right. You don't have a school in the floodplain, do you? Or it's just an athletic field for the school?
Well, the Nooksack Valley Middle School already exists and it is partially in the floodplain, but its ball field extends farther to the west. So it's significantly in the floodplain, but it's an existing, ball field that's been in use for some years. But it's in the existing UGA. It just hasn't been annexed yet, but we expect to take care of that in the next several years.
Yeah.
It's not a proposal though.
Commission, I can speak to that a little bit. We're already in talks with the school district to go ahead and annex that in and add that into our city limit sign there, because there's no plans to develop that at all. That is part of the school. It's going to stay part of the school. It's going to remain a ball field. There will be no future development or anything on that. So it does really adds nothing by being in our UGA then we add it into the city limits there and let it continue as a public area there. So.
Commissioner Van Dalen.
I was just gonna say, I'd had grandkids attend that school, so exactly what he said, the school itself is up high, the fields drop down.
Oh, good. That's
I've
what I
been
was
there,
hoping- that was
that's
what I was
exactly what,
hoping.
the ball fields are all in the lower section, the school's in the higher section, so I've had a bunch of them go through
Otherwise,
there.
you have to give them all life preservers.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion on this one here?
No.
No, we don't, do we?
No.
Go ahead, Commissioner Dunn.
And then I'm just looking at your population numbers, from the one day to 17th. I think it's similar to the other ones in that, for your housing needs, you're right on the money. For your 0 to 80%, you got 0 surplus. For your 80 to 120%, you have a surplus of a half, which I sort of look askance at. I think it's kind of odd to have a half a house, but whatever. 120 plus, you got a surplus of 81. And then a total, you got a surplus of 82. So again, fairly slim of the numbers. I don't think I'd be comfortable cutting out a lot of land from your proposal. So I think you wouldn't be hitting your housing numbers. So I will make a motion that we, what's the word? Not approve, but accept,
Except,
Nooksack's approval.
Second.
Second.
Oh, then Julie got Julie. Yeah.
Julie's got it.
Julie got on there.
Right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Hanson.
I guess I just would like to know about the soil characteristics of number 4. That whole area, it says it's rural. How does that compare to the agricultural land around it in regards to agricultural potential?
Yeah, so Roland Harper here again. Area number 4 is up on higher ground, substantially above the floodplain. It's near the Nooksack Valley Elementary School, Nooksack Elementary School, and it's actually in closest proximity to mineral resource land. So this is kind of like the gravel areas that are high and dry up there. The area that we're adding, area number 4, is just 20 acres. It's 6 parcels. All the parcels, each of them has a house on it. So this is a area that's close to the school, high and dry, already developed with single family houses where there's a good opportunity for infill near the elementary school. Not really an agricultural area. I mean, if there weren't houses on it, the gravel company would probably try to come in and mine it. But it's a great spot close to the school, really.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Lee, will you call the roll, please?
Yes. Hanson,
Yes.
Jefferson. Jefferson.
Sorry, yes. Yes.
Rosario,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
passes.
Thank you.
Zoom out.
We gotta say you're sorry.
Matt, would you bring up, and just have those 2 maps that have the study areas identified by number? Bring those up as well.
I feel old.
Well, Sumas now?
Sumas.
Or I got it, the party on the
All right, can you see the Sumas map now?
Yeah, thanks. So commissioners, this is the current Sumas proposal. So the Xed out urban reserve has been withdrawn. And these are the study areas that were identified in the EIS specifically, so. And Carson Cortez from the city is available, as well as Mayor Bruce Bosch.
This is something horrible.
I guess if you could just kind of walk us through this map from the perspective of the draft flood thing from ecology, so their comments.
Yeah, Mayor Bosch, I don't know if you want to speak to that one first.
What was your question? I'm sorry, I was.
Oh, no worries. Department of Ecology, hey Bruce, Department of Ecology sent us a letter saying to stay out of the floodplains and specifically referenced the new flood map that they have that was the draft and is the FEMA whatever. It's got a long name. And so I was wondering if you could talk about how that map, that new flood map, overlays your proposal for your UGA changes.
Well, it's, if you're looking at the map on the screen there, you'll see that Area 7 has some of the overlay of the flood map. And what we're trying to do is get it out of the water. And I actually spoke to Ecology about that letter that they sent, just to, and she was very adamant that her letter was floodplain specific. And she was actually very pro CMAS moving to the higher elevations into 8 and 9. So
is that kind of what you're looking for, or?
Yeah, and then so on this map, I guess the only I think if you scroll down to the bottom,
Yeah,
to the, where it says what the things are,
See
the red hatching, where it says draft floodway,
Old maps of it.
that is, I think, the map that ecology was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And the only place I see that is to the, of the screen I'm looking at, to the lower right-hand side, and then kind of the lower center, is that right?
I think so. Carson, you're the technical guy on this.
Yeah, the draft floodway is on Sumas River to the southeast of town, and then there's other portions of the floodway that are farther south. But there is no floodway connected to Sumas.
Floodway.
Clean, so.
Yeah, we're in the floodplain.
Someone remind me, I thought we had some motions about them modifying this. I can't remember if any of those passed.
You voted to not recommend areas 3 and 4.
That's what I saw, but it looks like the city's still proposing those. Is that true?
Looks like it.
Are we, Carson?
Last we talked, we were interested in moving forward with removing areas 3 and 4 so as to help us maintain some amount of UGA expansion elsewhere.
But it looks like they're still on your map as proposed to become UGA.
We're keeping them open as talking points for now.
Wow.
Eileen, can you remind me if our motion failed or passed on that recommendation?
So there was two. Commissioner Graff moved to remove all agricultural zone lands from the Sumas UGA or reserves, and that one failed. And this is from the September 30th special meeting. Commissioner Dunn moved to keep the most southern area proposed for the city of Sumas UGA as ag land. And that one was seconded by Commissioner Mosseri, and that motion carried 6-2.
That's 3 and 4.
That's 3 and 4, so that is correct then.
Yes.
But that's what we proposed, well,
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So Carson, could you maybe talk a little bit more about your plans here? You said to kind of keep it in there for a talking point. We're kind of getting towards the end of the year here and want to wrap this thing up. Are you going to leave 3 and 4 in, or are you going to take 3 and 4 out?
Well, that's up to you guys. Isn't it? We would like to keep 3 and 4 if possible, but if we have to remove them to move west, we're open to that too. So.
Well, I mean, I think we passed a motion to suggest, or our opinion as a group was that you remove 3 and 4. So I guess the question would be, at this point, are you planning on removing 3 and 4?
At this point, I would have to say probably.
Yeah.
Better be clear about
Okay.
this.
So my question is, so if we were to make a motion to move this on, making sure we removed 3 and 4, which is what we've already voted on once before, would that be appropriate? And accept it the way they've got it with the stuff with the proposals to the west? I guess that's a question.
I believe we could make our motion that we recommend accepting the plan if 3 and 4 are removed.
Okay, that's what I'm asking too then.
Yes, and I think if we do the motion in that way, then we're saying we will accept the plan if those 2 are not on it. If not, if they are on it, we would not recommend that to the council.
Okay, I can make that motion.
Well, let me ask you another question, but you might expand your motion.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hold on.
sorry. Why is 7 still in there if it's all flood zone?
So 7, because it's in the way of moving up the hill, is actually proposed as extinguished developmental rights, so it'll remain open land, undeveloped. So
I remember that.
And is that specified in your proposal?
Carson,
It should be.
proposal?
It should be. It's definitely a talking point that has been talked about for a long time. I'm having trouble opening it on my current computer. I apologize, but I assume it is.
Talking about it months ago.
There's a more open area, okay.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of more clarification for that. So in the comp plan, you can't add like islands of stuff. So like if we're gonna say, yeah, let's go for 8, that's a thumbs up. You kind of have to add, it's more for us here. You have to add 7 because otherwise 8 is sort of like an island there.
Yeah, you can't do an
So
island,
You
yeah.
can't do an island, yeah. So I think the idea of adding 7, keeping that in some sort of a conservation easement of some kind, allowing that to tie us into 8, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and that's the plan.
Okay, so would my motion stand to accept the proposal with the deletion of areas 3 and 4?
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay,
Director
discussion.
Personius, you're not allowed to second it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Would you consider a friendly amendment,
Okay,
which would be to note that the planning commission recommendation would also be to support the city's proposal to remove the development rights from area 7 that are within,
Sure,
that are
yes.
within the draft floodplain.
sure, yes, yes.
And Commissioner Van Dalen, can you, there was a lot of words there, but can you state that in a motion form so I mean,
Yes.
note to get them?
How much do you have so far, Eileen? And I'll clean it up.
To accept the Nooksack UJ proposal with the deletion.
Sumas.
Alright, I apologize, Sumas. I apologize, Sumas UJ proposal with the deletion of areas 3 and 4 and.
And.
Oh.
Friendly amendment.
And recommend removal of all development rights within area 7 affected by the draft floodplain maps.
Yes, yes, yeah. As part of it is okay and.
As, you could put a parentheses as proposed by the city. So we're consistent with the city in that sense. We're not differing from what they're proposing.
And once you get that, if you wouldn't mind reading it back to me, that sounds.
Yes, to accept the Sumas UJ proposal with the deletion of areas 3 and 4 and recommend removal of all development rights in area 7 affected by the draft floodplain maps as proposed by the city.
Perfect.
You have a second?
Hey, Roland Harper here. I'm sorry could I interrupt for a second just to clarify Mr. Personius's friendly amendment?
Go ahead.
All right, so the GMA requires the retirement of an extinguishment of the development rights within the effective floodplain. And so I don't think it's appropriate to require property owners to extinguish development rights based on a draft floodplain map. That's not what the GMA says. So maybe Mr. Personius could reconsider that and follow the language of the GMA. I don't know it's a huge difference in the mapping in this area, but I think it's more appropriate to stick with what the GMA requires.
Yeah, thanks, Roland. That's a good point. I would just say for consistency purposes, the county is going to be recommending use of the draft maps countywide, right? So I don't want to differentiate in apples and oranges between UGA designations and which maps. So I appreciate that. Matt, would you show I think it's the other map that has the current effective flood map on area 7, so you can see the difference.
Yeah.
Oh, quite a bit. Different pattern.
So, okay, so now we're looking at the effective maps, Matt? The effective flood map? Yeah, okay. And I'll scroll back to the other one. I'm just trying to eyeball, Roland, how different they are. Yeah, okay.
And we're talking the effective in my motion, correct?
My amendment would be draft. Would be that map, that flood area that was
Okay.
covered.
Commissioner Masseri?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously changes in 7 between the two, but it also in the draft map, is in 9, and the effect of it is not.
Right.
Right. Roland, did you have more for us?
No, but again, I would say that the county wants to use the draft maps for its consideration of what to make as changes to the UGA. It's the GMA that specifies about the retirement of development rights, and it refers to the effective flood map. So I think it's appropriate for the county to use whatever it wants as it makes its determinations, but to specify the retirement of development rights is I think an overreach that is inappropriate. And you really talk about consistency. Let's be consistent with the language in the GMA as the starting point, please.
Do the whole area then, don't worry, just do the whole area.
So we have a motion. Did we get a second, I think?
Yeah, wait a second.
Yeah,
Okay.
done.
He's right next to me and I didn't hear it.
Sorry.
Okay, any further discussion?
On the,
Commissioner Masseri?
clear.
Yeah, I agree with all of it, except for now I'm a little, I'm debating on this retirement of development rights here based on the different maps, because I guess if the draft map, could it potentially change before it's adopted?
The draft maps are due to be adopted by FEMA sometime in the next 2 years, I think is what the current schedule is.
So it doesn't matter then.
If there is a fee.
Well, it does, because they could retire development rights based on that, what the current draft is, and then the draft changes in 2 years, and they've already distinguished development rights in something that may not end up in the map.
Yeah, and even the GMA requirement that Roland referenced doesn't mean you can't go do more than that. So.
Commissioner Hanson?
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought. Well, keep it simple, just stipulating that they retire all development rights within Area 7. You don't have to worry about flood maps.
But
It's agricultural land.
But I have a problem with that because there's areas that would be no problem. Because if there's a hilly area there and a low area.
Well, and also the difference is that in the draft map, it goes into 9.
Right. Yeah.
I want to leave it all.
Yeah, and I think that is the question really to wrestle with is like, trying to look at two, do we use a document that is not officially like approved or finalized? But that, ecology is saying you should use this document.
Go ahead, Commissioner Masseri.
My thinking is that to use that document for future planning on where development might happen in a 20-year planning period makes sense to use that where we think things are going. But this will need to be accomplished in a much shorter time period that these development rights are extinguished for this to be able to go through. And so that's why you're talking on 2 different timescales, and why I'm having a hard time with using the draft for having to distinguish the development rights. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Would you be more comfortable using the one that we have established, one from 1974, whatever it is?
I'm conflicted on.
Okay.
Go ahead, Commissioner Bandera.
Okay, so can we take that part out, the friendly amendment, and move this on? Or I'm asking a question more than anything. What about that option? Can we take, not to hurt your friendly amendment, but to take that out in the interest of moving this on and not having the development rights become a problem that's an unknown at this time?
We could take out a recommendation and allow the council to have more time to wrestle with that.
Okay, I like that.
Could you then restate the motion just so I'm clear?
Yes. To accept the CMS UGA proposal with the deletion of areas 3 and 4.
And just for comment, so the city's UGA proposal includes a proposal by the city to remove the development rights.
Yeah,
So
that is correct.
So,
Yes.
we can argue the details of which map that is
Exactly, get that out of it, get that, okay, so I'm good with where my motion, the way that stands. Dan, are you good with that? Okay,
And Eileen, do you have that written yet?
Yes,
Okay. And can you read it back to us?
yes. Commissioner Van Dalen moved to accept the Sumas UGA proposal with the deletion of areas 3 and 4.
that is correct.
And we're also including, some other things that.
No, we took that out.
And Commissioner Dunn seconded.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? Commissioner Hanson?
I'm just gonna oppose this because I don't think they should have allocated any population to Sumas whatsoever, and I don't expect anybody else to take that position, so I'm just gonna abstain.
Eileen, will you call the roll, please?
Yes, Hanson,
Abstain.
Jefferson,
I'll abstain.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Barton.
Yeah.
It passes 5-2.
Like you say, it is the one.
Thank you, Carson. Thank you, mayors.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Duty.
Okay. Cherry Point.
We're on to Cherry Point.
Right, so this is Matt Ahmet with Planning and Development. Let me bring up the map here. Okay, so we don't have any changes from when we originally presented this. Basically, the urban growth area would be reduced in size north of Grandview. This is all a wetland mitigation site for BP north of Grandview. That would be taken out of the urban growth area, redesignated to rural in the comp plan, and then rezoned from light impact industrial to R10A for now at least.
We discussed that in depth.
Commissioner Mosseri?
I move to accept the Cherry Point proposal.
I can second that.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none. Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Jefferson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Barton.
Yes.
It passes.
Okay, so next is rural and resource lands. So get there.
Do we have more amendments?
Okay, so this also includes some zoning changes. So in these limited areas of more intensive rural development, which is rural residential, 2 units per acre, rural residential, 3 units per acre, small town commercial, there would be zoning text amendments to allow duplex, triplex, and fourplex, and that's to where there's public water, and that's to allow some of this, a little bit more of this middle housing. And then there would be some rezones in 3 Lammerts, Custer, Pull and Guide, and High Notes Corner. Rezoning in Custer from RR2 to RR3. And then rezoning Pull and Guide, RR2 to RR3 also. And then High Notes Corner, rezoning some RR2 to RR3, and then also some rural 1 dwelling per 2 acres to residential rural 2 dwellings per acre if there's public water and sewer. And then for Lummi Island, there's a mineral resource lands designation that's now owned by a trust. And so that MRL would be removed, and that would be for rural forestry designation and zoning.
That is the old hard rock mine that.
Oh, yeah, the old
That is
mine.
now Lummi Island Heritage Trust owns it, and they're developing it as a park.
Rehabbing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Commissioner Mosseri?
Matt, is there any changes to any of this than last time we saw this?
Nope.
Did we get through any amendments we need on this one?
I think we voted.
Do we have any other left? Why is it?
I'll ask a question. I don't know, Dan, are you waiting to go or?
Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted, I'm kind of vaguely remembering some things. That's why I'm wondering, if we have that somewhere. Didn't we vote on some things in this area and move on? And I'm assuming these were taken care of then in that? In these areas, because I remember the Pole Road area and this and that. We voted on something and I honestly can't remember what it was. It seemed.
Well, you would have voted on the population allocations some time ago.
Oh, okay, that's what that was.
These
Okay,
are now the map changes or the text changes.
okay.
We also talked about in Kendall, the change of a rural forestry to commercial.
That's the Columbia Valley
Columbia Valley,
UGA. You've already proved that.
We did
Oh,
that.
yeah, okay.
You already
Yeah,
did
we did
These
that.
are other ones we haven't.
Right,
Okay.
right.
And we talked about forestry, we talked about agriculture. So what haven't we talked about? Okay.
Commissioner Dunn.
Matt, on your proposal dated September 16th, you had a growth population capacity of 0 and a growth allocation of 9,000. So in my spreadsheet, I just put in 9,000 because it didn't make sense to me to have a growth capacity that's 0 when you're allocating 9,000 people there. Could you talk a little bit about why you had that decision to have a 0 growth capacity?
Yeah, because the GMA and is defined by Commerce guidance, basically says land capacity analyses are for urban growth areas. They're not for rural areas. And we did use kind of the same methodology for Lammerts. And also, basically now we're focusing on housing. In fact, I think there was a quote I had up here from the guidance. Yeah, LCAs are designed for urban growth areas. This HB 1220 allows, some infill in Lammerts. I'm sorry, this was the rural bill, the Lammert bill, allows for some infill in Lammerts. And so we may want to use land capacity for that, but we really did not use that methodology for rural areas. We kind of did a rough, estimate, but the LCA is not required for those areas. And also we're focusing on housing and not population per the Commerce instruction to us.
This is all about the Lambert.
Basically, Commerce said if you have enough capacity for housing, then by definition, you have enough capacity for population. And this gets to some of the same issues about the vacancy rate. They use one county, the HAP uses one countywide vacancy rate, one countywide average household size, would accommodate homeless and people are cost burdened, things like that. So we're switching to, not really using this for anything anymore. We're switching to using the housing land capacity analysis with the assumption that if you have enough housing, then you can accommodate the population.
Commissioner Masseri.
Yeah, I actually have 2 comments. I had a different one, but just pertaining to this, it is a little odd to not do that analysis. I don't know if we have in the past and we have that data, it probably wouldn't change as much out in the county as it does in the cities because the zoning doesn't densify as quickly out there. But because what happens is if we don't actually know what that capacity is out there, we know how many people we think are going to come. We know how much capacity the cities have. You don't know how much capacity is out in the county. And so whatever doesn't get met in the cities just bleeds out in the county, but we don't know. It's not an endless capacity out there.
I think the number was, there's an estimate, we did an estimate in the EIS of sort of build out of rural area, if you developed every parcel, which would never happen because of critical areas and market factors and things like that. We have a lot of legacy lots, right, that were developed, subdivided over the years that are still out there and stuff. But yeah, we're not, by definition, by GMA, we can't increase densities in rural areas. So that number.
Except for Lamberts. Yeah. We kind of met this issue early on with the city planners because the HAP originally gave a whole bunch of, lower and medium income housing to the county. And we said, hey, under GMA, we can't accommodate that. It's largely single-family residence. And so we went through kind of a process with them where the cities took on more of this lower and middle income housing. We kind of upped the zoning in Lamberts a little bit, but predominantly out in the outside of urban growth areas, it's mostly going to be single family, lots out there.
Commissioner Brown.
Yeah, I'm curious as to in 2024, late 2024, the county increased the buffers on wetlands significantly. How has that been factored in to the impact on the land that can be developed in the unincorporated portions of the county, including the urban growth areas like Birch Bay, etc.?
We had used, I think we looked at buffers over the last several years and averaged those. So we used 100 and I can't remember what it was, 120 feet or something like that, buffers for, in the land capacity analysis. So that's what we had used. So
No, but that was based on the buffers before October 2024, or the buffers, the new buffer rules came in what was it, January, February this year. So are we working off the new buffers or the old buffers? Because the new buffers for category 3 wetlands, for example, the new buffers have gone from probably 150 feet to 300 feet.
yeah, I mean, we used past information on that, what we had, there's some flexibility in buffers as far as buffer averaging or variances or things like that, reasonable use. So that's what we used in the Birch Bay.
No, but yeah. My question more is, Matt, is how much did that change things? How much did increasing the buffers change things? That's my first part of my question.
Yeah, are you talking about like in rural areas or what?
Well, the buffer rules apply in any area outside of a city limit.
Yeah.
Correct?
So in rural areas, basically we had our GIS exclude exclude all commercial, industrial zones, recreational things that don't allow homes. Then they took a parcel size, which I'd have to remember. I'd have to go back and look to see what it was. I think it might have been an acre or something like that. Exclude all those, and then exclude land for, it's in land trust or conservation program easement. So like if you're in an R5 or R10, we didn't do a traditional land capacity analysis like you do for the city of Bellingham or the city of Ferndale. And Commerce is saying here that, LCAs are not designed for that type of thing, right? So they're designed for urban growth areas. We don't have to do one for rural areas. So we did kind of that high level. We didn't do a detailed, land capacity analysis like you do for a city.
No, I get that.
So wetlands didn't really come into the equation for like R5 or R10.
Right, but I'm sorry, we're still not getting to the question that I'm talking about. The population growth projections of 9,000 that we can accommodate 9,000. I recognize you don't go to the same level of detail as you do in a UGA or in the city, but my point is that the capacity to even accommodate 9,000, I'm trying to work out how realistic that is, given that in January this year, we significantly increased the size of buffers on the wetlands. And normally you're not allowed to build in the first 75% of those buffers. You may be able to build in the outer 25% of those buffers through buffer averaging or mitigation and so forth. But my point is that the buffers increased really significantly in terms of how much land they impacted. But I don't see any analysis as to what that impact was from the buffers to the ability to even meet the 9,000. is what I'm saying.
I guess what we're saying is we didn't analyze that because like if you have a 5 acre lot out in the rural area, we do have reasonable use if it's mostly wetlands. We just, took out lots that were, I'd have to go back and see what it was, an acre or whatever. We took all those out of the equation. And, we took out the other lands that aren't zoned for residential. We took out the, public land, stuff like that. So if you had a 5 acre lot in a 5 acre zone, we assumed you get one home on there.
Okay. And my point, Matt, is it's not about the wetlands actually, because the wetlands rules didn't change this year. What changed was the buffer rules. And the buffer rules have, I think there's a significant underestimation as to how much that increase in buffers is going to wipe out the ability to do anything on many of these lots at all. So, and I don't think we're going to even come a fraction close to doing the 9,000, having the capacity to do 9,000. Because if that 5 acre parcel, for example, is forested and the buffers now encumber the whole parcel, which is not hard to do, there's nowhere to do the mitigation on the parcel because it's forested. So therefore you have to do the mitigation on farmland or pasture land. So I just want us to be cognizant of the fact that the 9,000 number has no science behind it and no calculation behind it. And I suspect is significantly overstated because we haven't done the analysis of what the impact and the increase in the buffers is. So,
Commissioner Brown, just hold the thought for a little bit. Maybe we can solve it. I think Commissioner Terry had his hand up.
Rudd, I think you kind of came to your own conclusion there at the end. The 9,000's a made up number. It was an arbitrary number to start with because it was originally bigger and the council just said, we don't like the 13,000 or whatever it was. We're just making it 9 based on nothing.
Right.
And so the 9,000's already just arbitrary. And then as they're saying, they didn't even bother to do a capacity because they weren't required to, or the county isn't required to. So the 9,000's just it's meaningless. They're just looking at the housing units and they counted the properties and said there's enough property, assuming however you get there, somebody could technically build a house there maybe. And I think that's what the conclusion is on. So
no, and if I can respond, I understand that, Dominic. That's not my issue. My issue is that there's been no analysis of what increasing the buffers in January has had on our ability to even do 900, let alone 9,000. And remember, this was a buffer change. The part of the justification given to the council, and this is on a record, was that the Building Industry Association apparently asked for the buffers to be increased. And when the Building Industry Association was asked about that, they said they'd never made that statement. So the claim was we needed to increase the buffers at the request of the Building Industry Association. And that request was never made. In fact, they've stated in writing that they have not made it. And it's a misrepresentation of what the Building Industry Association thinks is necessary to build housing.
Commissioner Brown?
Yeah.
What,
what's my point?
You raised your hand and in the floor, but I would appreciate if you would ask or say, this number seems wrong.
Yeah.
And it should be this way, or it should be that way. I think what we learned is that the 9,000 is an arbitrary number, but if we have a reason to believe it's way off, then you could save time by, you've given us a lot of argument and then just tell us what you think it should be or which direction it should be going.
All right, so I'll be specific, which is for us to consider this number we need to understand what is the impact of increasing the buffers this year on the ability to meet this number or any number whatsoever.
Okay, so then let me ask another question then. Are you disagreeing with that number?
Yes, I disagree with it significantly. I don't even, I think we might be lucky to get to 900, to be perfectly honest.
All right, so, I'm gonna let Commissioner Hanson have the floor.
I just want to make a point of order. I agree with you. I thought that whole I tried to vote against these allocations, but we were told we didn't get a vote on them. So I totally agree with you, but I don't think discussion is germane because we're supposed to be talking about changing the zoning in Lamberts to accommodate additional population. And when we get to the point of do we want to increase the Lambert, the zoning density in Lambert X? If you want to say, I'm going to vote no on that because I think it's over allocated, I think that's fine. But I think a big general discussion on the inadequacies of the interjurisdictional task force and the buildable lands report, et cetera, is not germane to moving on with this discussion and making decisions.
Commissioner Masseri?
Yeah, I've been wrestling with the rural and resource lands proposal because of the zoning code amendment, not the zoning reason, not the reasons, but the actual zoning change of allowing duplex, triplexes, and fourplexes in those zones, because it puts multifamily up to a fourplex in most of the Lamberts around the county, because most of them seem to have an R2 and RR3 or STC of some combination of that. And I've just been going back and forth on, I know we're trying to get the density, but it really does change the character of those areas. I'm not sure if that's where we want to do those upzones.
So that just rang a bell with me. I think you did pass a motion on that. Eileen, could you look at the motions from, I thought you perhaps did R2, or excuse me, duplex, triplex, fourplex in these three Lamberts. I have a vague recollection of that.
What are we talking
Correct.
about?
We'll find out. We'll find out if we did do something. Yeah.
Well, we could always change it now.
What if it was your motion?
I'm ready. I'd be with him, I think. That's for sure.
You might disagree with yourself.
Hold on for a moment, Commissioner Brown.
Yeah, no, I agree with Matt. As far as I know, we did pass a motion supporting these in the Lamberts.
What are we?
But was it just those three? I remember the discussion, but thought
it was only those three as I recall it.
We did something.
We only have so many.
I literally can't remember.
Too many meetings.
Too many meetings. It's gone, man.
I'm not seeing, as far as the UJ proposals, it could have been in one of the chapters associated. So I'm not seeing in the minutes.
When was the rural
Resource land.
Was that September 25th or? I know it was at least talked about because
It was discussed, or you presented it, but there was no discussion from the commission on the rural resource lands.
Oh,
I thought.
rural resource, but not.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. It could have been in the land capacity analysis. It could have been in one of the chapters, but it's not within the UJ proposal.
There we go.
What if it was just limited to Custer Pull and Guide high notes, that in these zones you can have duplex, triplex, fourplex, and then the rest, the other Lamberts are just kept as they are.
Commissioner Masseri?
Yeah, and remind me, because we had a lengthy discussion about this. We had the maps pulled up. Those three were identified because we thought they were the most suitable, both their location and their potential for some development. That's why they were existing. And existing. So that's why they were picked out. So that would be more appealing to me if it was just applied to those three Lamberts.
Sorry. We've got a couple going here.
Some notes that are just germane to this conversation. So,
Go ahead.
my notes from, September 30th. Say that we, let's see, there's a motion to deny upzones in section V of rural and resource lands that failed. There's a motion to amend zoning code and Custer Pole and Guide, Pine Ridge Corner, landmarks to allow duplex, triplex, and fourplex, that passed. And a motion to not, oh, there's a Columbia Valley motion. So I guess if you wanna look at the, I need to look at the minutes.
So we
from-
did have a motion.
We did, yeah.
9:30?
At 9:30.
There's more to it that would improve.
And just hold on, Commissioner Brown.
Well, no, I just gotta reinforce what Matt says. Again, so.
We'll get back to you as soon as Eileen's gonna pull this up.
So we've already done. Where to take the landmarks for that?
Yeah, those are my notes, but I mean, I don't know if it's accurate. I guess whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are my notes.
I see multiple motions there.
Okay,
There we go. There it is.
number 14,
Oh, there we go.
seconded, roll call,
And that one failed.
it failed.
Okay, then go to the next one.
There we go.
There we go.
Right.
Now line 15.
Wow, and the 3, and that passed 6-2.
Okay, so that passed, okay.
Yeah, but this has something else to do with this topic, and that is on page 18. It's what we might be approving says amend R2, R3, and ST zoning text to allow duplex, triplex, and fourplex when water is available. That's for the whole county, not just these Lamberts. And then it says in these Lamberts, rezone one of them 90 acres from R2 to R3, 105 acres from RR2 to RR3. So there's some other specific provisions that go beyond the triplex and duplexes that I think we should make sure we look at before we approve this.
Hold on just a moment. Commissioner Brown, you had your hand up. Do you have?
I was just gonna say, I think both Matt and I are relieved to know we're not crazy.
So,
Apologize.
so Custer, Pole and Guide, and High Notes are already. You've taken action to recommend approval. Or you hadn't on Lummi Island.
Right.
But we hadn't on the first one.
The zoning code
Throughout
amendments.
everywhere.
Okay. That was not on the 9:30.
But also this talks about rezones, not just what's allowed in the zones.
Back up.
She's done with that. Commissioner Terry.
Sorry.
Okay, so that's,
That one failed. This one failed.
Commissioner Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanna, can you just scroll back and just work our way down those, just so I can make sure I understand? So we've already failed to approve this first one that we have on the list here.
Yep.
So does that mean it's strucken?
It showed up again.
And it showed up again. That's the way I'm reading it.
Yeah, so does that mean that we've already disposed of this and it won't be included?
yes, we would delete that from our proposal.
Okay, so the zoning code at large amendment would be removed.
Yeah.
But then we made a motion to have that language just apply to these three landmarks.
Yep.
And that was approved.
Approved.
Okay.
Those are the next 3, Custer, Pole and Guide, and High Notes Corner.
Did we ever address the rezones in those 3 areas? Because there was,
No, it says to adjourn.
so we still need to address if we want to do the rezoning, the upzoning in there.
Yeah,
And we need to address Lummi Island.
yeah, right. Okay, good. We're on the same page.
Well, Lummy's a separate deal, because
That should be easy, right?
that's an easy one. So we need to do, so do you have a motion for the rezone?
I'm not sure if I did.
Okay. Steps.
Do you like the current zoning or the proposed zoning, or do you wanna change that, or are you not sure?
I was on the fence.
Could we have why these are being proposed?
Yeah,
Yeah, let's hear from that.
right. So again, this gets back to the new House Bill 1220 and the related Housing for All or HAPT planning tool that the State Department of Commerce developed. So basically the way that HAPT works is the county, gets to decide what the overall population projection for the county is. And then that's put into the HAPT. And then this HAPT tool calculates and spits out, you might say, what income categories and how much housing that each jurisdiction needs to plan for in, lower income, moderate income, higher income categories. Well, when the HAP developed by the state first came out, it gave the county a whole bunch of, a fair amount of lower income and moderate income housing. And so when we were talking to the city planners and our consultant, the county was saying, look, under GMA, wide areas outside, UGAs are either R5A, R10A, agriculture, rural forestry, one dwelling per 20 acres, that really cannot accommodate that higher density housing for lower income folks, or maybe the middle housing, the duplex, triplex, fourplex for moderate income families. So we kind of discussed with the cities, negotiated, so they agreed to take more of those, lower and moderate income housing forms, the multifamily, the middle housing, but they wanted the county to, take some, take our fair share, as they said at first, but then they kind of backed down on that. And so they, we discussed, okay, we'll plug in our land capacity analysis to Lammerts, see how much the Lammerts could accommodate. If right now you can accommodate two, like in RR2, you can accommodate 2 single family homes per acre. And this proposal would allow you to have a duplex, on an acre instead of 2 single family. Or if you had 4 acres, or well, let's say 2 acres, you could have 4 single family, and this would allow you to have a fourplex. And we looked at all the landmarks throughout the county. Some were remote, like Glacier or Point Roberts. Said, no, that's not going to provide housing for most folks. Some had geohazards. Again, Glacier had that. Acme had that. Various areas around the county had that. Some were in watersheds or things like that. So we eliminated a lot of the landmarks from consideration, and we came down to these 3, and that basically we estimated capacity in these 3, and the city said, okay, well, we can settle on that. You can be allocated that much, moderate income housing. And so it's kind of a negotiated process, looking at capacity, how much we might be able to accommodate, that type of thing.
Yeah, and I had to think there for a little bit, because I was reminding myself of the conversation, and a lot of that around Custer, Pole, and High Notes was the proximity to existing businesses and commercial services, their proximity to already arterial roads. They already, some of them, especially like High Notes Corner, had higher density, and some, I think maybe some duplexes and that kind of stuff.
We approved a big duplex development
In that area, and so actually they're already operating at this higher density, and I think that's why we were okay to have those duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes there like we approved. The question is then just to upzone it a step more so that there would be a little bit more RR3 instead of RR2, which just allows you to maybe get another parcel or 2. So all the parcels there, according to our recommendation, can already do the duplex, triplex, and fourplex. This would just allow potential for a handful of some more lots. And when we looked at it, it seemed like a reasonable amount with what you might actually be able to get. It wasn't going to be overwhelming because of just the constraints of that, was my recollection of it.
Commissioner John.
Yeah, I'm in favor of the upzone. I think allowing a little more housing there is fine. I don't know, it's get built out like a huge amount, but kind of makes sense. We're gonna allow duplexes and triplexes in there, just a little expansion. It's reasonable.
Commissioner Van Galen.
I can support that based on Matt's explanation of the negotiating that went on with the cities and this and that and everything that, you know, to kind of make it all work. I like that.
Commissioner Hanson.
I'm impressed with those arguments. However, in terms of Custer, where I know people who live there, they pretty much value their semi-rural environment of their neighborhoods. So, and it can get kind of clogged on the between old Highway 99 and getting on and off the freeway sometimes there. So I don't think I support increasing population beyond the duplex triplex thing there in Custard. So I guess I would support this if we delete that portion.
The other, this implication, if, like if these don't go through, or we'll have to get together with the cities, because then they'll have to take this housing. Right, so.
That's what I want.
That changes things.
That's what I want.
Commissioner Brown.
Yeah.
Particularly Bellingham.
So a couple of things. One is, you know, all the evidence around the country is that we'll probably get 2% uptake in terms of accessory dwelling units, because historically most people will not want to put it in. And to Jim's comment, I don't know a single jurisdiction in Whatcom County, or frankly anywhere in the US, where people are saying, yeah, I'd like more density in my neighborhood, thank you. The fundamental problem is everybody is saying not in my neighborhood. Everybody. And that's why we have so many homeless and families living in cars.
Commissioner McCord.
Yeah, Matt, well, you're already gonna have to go back to the cities because of us removing the duplex, triplex, and fourplex from the rest of the landlords. So you're still gonna have to have that
The rest of
discussion.
the county, yeah.
So it's just, right, it's just how many more the difference of those housing units if we were to upzone Custer, Pull, and High Notes. So I would make a motion to accept the rezones of Custer, Pull, and High Notes Corner as proposed.
I can support that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Sorry, could you just repeat the question, because I'm just having audio issues.
Just vote yes.
The motion was to accept the Custer, Pull, and High Notes Corner rezones as proposed. Right,
Yes. Yep.
To accept is what you said, is that right?
yes,
Yep, thank you.
Would you call the roll, please?
yes. Jefferson,
Abstain.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
No.
Barton,
No.
it passes 4-3.
Commissioner Masseri.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to accept the proposed change to the Lummi Island mineral resource designation to rural on that parcel. I don't know how to identify that parcel. There's nothing here to identify it. I know what parcel it is, but I don't know how I should describe this in the motion.
Well, it's best.
Matt, would you give the effective title for that?
Well, it's the map on page 12 of our proposal. So this area outlined in red, it would be rural forestry instead of rural.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, rural forestry, sorry.
Yeah.
Was there a name for that property or?
There we go.
It's
Yeah,
the
I know what it is.
Lummi Island Trust property.
Okay, well,
Okay, refer to it as that. Lummi Island Trust property.
If it's already in the verbiage, we can just let it go, right? We
Just leave it
As
and
long
then,
as we don't change it, just leave it.
you're right.
Yep,
Okay, I
let's go with that.
withdraw my motion.
And that's all part of the rural resource land. So if we just accept the whole
Yep.
Yeah, then we're good to go.
I mean, you made specific motions on the Lammert, so it might be good just to have a motion on this, just to.
Oh, he made it. Well, he wants it back.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay.
Can you reinsert your withdrawn motion?
I don't want to because I don't know how to describe that parcel. I don't want to just say refer to the map.
No, we gave a name.
Yeah, it's the Lummi Island Trust parcel.
Well, I'll make a motion that the Lummi Island Trust parcel gets noted, or how do we say
I
that?
think it's the Lummi Island
rural forestry.
Heritage Trust.
Yeah, remove the MRL special district overlay and retain the underlying rural forestry zoning.
Commissioner Hampton.
Yeah, there's a frivolous comment. One is, that was the best gravel. I really love that black gravel. And two, good luck growing trees on that site.
Yeah, it's a rock.
So did we get our motion made here?
No,
All right.
not officially, so
You can just also reference, do you accept the Lummi Island rezone proposal and leave it at that, because there's only one.
Okay, I make a motion to accept the Lummi Island rezone proposal.
I'll second that too.
Okay,
Is there any discussion?
This,
Seeing none, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
yes, Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
yes.
Brown,
Abstain.
Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
it passes.
Commissioner Masseri.
I make a motion to accept the rural resource lands proposal as amended.
I can second that.
It's rural and what is it? Rural and resource, or is it?
Rural and resource land.
Rural and. Did you get my second?
Yes, thank you.
Or just holding here a minute.
Yeah, rural and.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Mosseri,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
it passes.
No, let's see what's on the agenda. Unfinished business.
Got a request of the commission. I speak in front of council, sometimes like public comment kind of thing, and I was identify myself as I'm Dan Dunn, speaking in my personal capacity, so just speak on my own. I would talk about like, oh, at planning commission, I was there, and we talk about these kind of things, but I never represent the commission. I would like to represent the commission on one item. We passed on the 13th, so the last one, we passed 3 motions, two about ADUs and one about co-housing, and they were passed either unanimously or with one abstention. And so I would like to make a comment in front of the council, representing the commission, and I would just be describing that we voted on these 3 things, and maybe a little bit about what the discussion was about that. And the reason is we made the motion to do these things basically unanimously. Staff disagreed. So staff made a proposal that said, no, you shouldn't do those things. And then I felt like we weren't really fairly represented in that meeting, like our perspective. So I'd like just to go on the record and say, this is what we voted on, this is the motion we voted on, this is how it passed, and this is a little bit of background discussion.
It's part of the record, so I have no problem with that.
I want to be refreshed. At one point it was to approve ADUs in all zoning in the county, and was that amended to be only the urban growth areas?
Yeah, no, so the 3 things that I'll speak on is that one, we removed the need for public sewer service in a UG, in ADU and an AG, for an ADU in a UGA.
To get the second.
Yeah, to get a second unit.
Yeah.
And the other was that we allowed folks to use, the language was existing detached structures, including garages. Maybe converted, we add language that says including garages and barns and any other accessory buildings.
That was not those were not controversial. There were a couple other ones that were more of an issue, so, okay.
Yeah, so they just wanted to pass with, whatever, yeah.
I don't think I was in favor of the one where the, with the getting the second house with without being on it, because I was not in favor of overdeveloping those UGAs and making them unattractive to cities to incorporate them.
Right.
Yeah, so my report would be, we'll be reporting what the vote tallies were. So on that one, I've got 8 yeas and 8 yeas and 1 nay. It doesn't say here who made the nay, but I could mention you by name.
I don't need to be. I just, when you said it was unanimous, I don't remember being unanimously in favor of it.
Mr. Van Dalen.
I don't know if this is, after the meeting, I thought about this later, just going on that problem of how the cities can expand into it. And I wondered on my own later, well, what if there was some kind of, that it was specified that it had to be a modular home or a mobile home or something that could be moved in the event that you had the one main house that was there that would make things, it can be wheels put back on and towed away and for an expansion into that UGA. I don't know, it was just a thought I had. Not that it ever came up, it was just something I thought of later.
Yeah. And
So I want to ask you a question.
yeah,
What was the state law that got passed?
that you could have 2 ADUs in addition to your principal unit
And
in a UGA.
Wasn't it a requirement that the UGAs are mandated to follow that?
Yes, and well, it was, but there were a bunch of exceptions where a local government could, and one of the exceptions was you don't have to allow the second unit if there's no public sewer. And it was precisely for those reasons, right? And that was PDS's position, because we heard that from the cities saying, don't allow, should allow less development, less density next to our UGAs, so that when we annex, it's a lot easier to urbanize. And so if you don't have sewer for that second unit, it means you got to have another septic system, and that just takes up a lot of space, get to spread out, and then you get into that issue of harder to urbanize in the future. So,
Commissioner Brown.
Yeah, I mean, the discussion was, it shouldn't be about ADUs, it should be about bedrooms. Because bedrooms define how much septic space you need, not the number of ADUs.
Well, yeah, but the ADUs are limited in size to 1,248 square feet. So that limits the number of bedrooms kind of by design.
But
yeah,
I've got a family member who's looking at townhomes in Langley now, and they're doing 3 bedrooms. All the places are 3 bedrooms, and they're most of them are under 1,000 square feet. And a 1,200 square
tiny
foot.
bedroom. Yeah, tiny bedrooms.
Well, no, they're not big, and they've got all sorts of other problems as well, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of lifestyle. But 1,200 square feet gets you 4 bedrooms.
And so Rudd and commissioners, the other one was the barns.
No problem.
The enabling language said detached structures, including garages. That was the actual statutory language. Then you guys added barns, and our building code folks will point out at the next council meeting when we bring this discussion back up that of course a barn is bigger than 1,248 square feet. And if you had a big barn and you converted 1,248 square feet of it into an ADU, under the building code classifications, it goes from an agricultural structure to a house, right? To a human habitation. And you'd have to sprinkle the entire barn, is what I'm told. That's kind of crazy, right? So, so that's why we didn't recommend the barn language. it says detached structures, which could include a barn, and so. But then it's just, it's a cost issue, right? I mean, if you've got a rich farmer with a barn and he can afford to do that, that's great. What we didn't want to have happen is have folks do it illegally. And then you've got a real public safety risk, of fires.
Commissioner Brown, did you have a comment?
Yeah, Mark, I wouldn't expect it to invalidate any of the fire code issues or whatever, but the reason I like the barn issue is because if you've got an existing footprint of impacts on wetlands and buffers, replacing that structure with an ADU means you don't have to then worry about impacts to wetlands and buffers, right? So, which is really it's probably the single most limiting factor in terms of doing ADUs.
Well, remember, this only applies in UGA, so I don't think there's a whole lot of barns in our urban growth areas, but.
They're all falling down. They're all falling down. anyway.
There's small barns, right?
They're all falling down.
Go ahead, Commissioner Brown.
Sure, and then the other one that we also voted on was about co-housing, to allow co-housing in all zones, UGAs. And that was also everybody except for Dominic, so we had a 9-8 vote on that one. So I got a question for you, is it okay if I say, hey, I'm on, behalf of the planning commission, I'm gonna read you what's in the minutes, and here's how we voted for their thing.
I'm okay with that.
Public record.
Yeah,
right?
that's why I'm okay with it. It's been recorded in public, so.
And just so you guys know, for the record, we oppose that because your motion actually would have allowed it in all the industrial and commercial zones. By policy, we don't recommend using up our precious commercial industrial space to put housing, so that should be in the urban residential zones instead, so we'll do up some, and then council member Galloway proposed some additional language to that, which would have allowed all those co-living facilities out in the rural areas, which is also problematic, and so we'll point that out to the council at the next meeting, so.
If I could just make an official, and if I could just take a vote. So my motion is that I can represent the council to talk about these 3 items, review from minutes.
I'm okay.
Do we have a second?
I wanted to make a comment.
We need a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Commissioner Brown, go ahead.
So I think there's nothing restricting any of us from making comments at the council and identifying ourselves as planning commissioners. I think the only crucial part is it's just whether you say you're speaking on behalf of the commission or in your individual capacity. So, I mean, I certainly intend to speak in front of the council, but my intention was to speak as an individual commissioner, not as a representative. I'm not opposing what you're saying, Dan. I'm just saying that's the distinction in my mind.
Yeah, definitely. And I typically speak as, I've always spoken as just my own personal capacity. This is just be speak on behalf of the council for these things.
Commissioner Massar.
Yeah, and Dan's doing this the right way. I think it might even be in our bylaws or business rules. I mean, that you have to get approval from the commission to speak on behalf of the commission. So I appreciate you going through the proper process.
Makes sense.
That is correct.
There any further
rules. So. Do we need to vote on this motion?
Yeah. So I motioned it, you seconded it. Yeah, so we can vote on it.
Let's vote it.
Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yeah.
Jefferson,
Yes. Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
it passes.
Great, thank you.
Motion to adjourn. Yeah.
Well, what about all these motions that are hanging on a couple of chapters? We have.
You wanna?
Well, you have motions on 10.
Probably.
And they're
There's
mostly
about
grammatical.
17 for chapter 10.
Pardon?
There's about 17 motions that are left for chapter 10.
So if some, is there kind of housekeeping, maybe just get rid of them. I mean, process them.
Are we
Well, we are at unfinished business, so.
That's kind of unfinished.
It is
We
unfinished.
got a little time. I mean,
Yeah, I'm good with it. I'm open to whatever.
And you bring up the.
As soon as it's 9 o'clock, though.
I have it here, not, but yours.
Mr. Showing where you have to walk.
you just move the minute hand around.
He just vote that clock.
Oh, it's 9 o'clock. I want to hear more about the wetlands.
There's plenty of them.
My backyard, my side yard.
The entire county.
Well, but under the wetlands is an old coal mine, so we got double.
Oh, yeah.
So I've not updated the
A chart?
chart because I was updating the chapter and I'm working on the minutes so to be approved at the next meeting. So I will do my best.
Well, there's an email that you can cut and paste out of.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I'm working on.
Okay.
Get my head back around what we were talking about. So it's chapter 10.
So it's chapter 10.
This is from our last meeting.
So there are some from the last meeting that have not been proposed, and then there were 10 additional proposed motions.
You want to finish the ones that were on the original?
Right, and that's what I was.
It's done motions part 2, I think. Does that make sense?
Finish those.
Yeah,
Were you gonna add Kathleen?
I did, yeah, that's my
Yes,
part 2.
that's what
Yeah,
I
a lot of
have
our just
not-
housekeeping
Yeah, yeah.
things, you know.
These are what.
Can we do those as
left.
one motion?
Well, that's what is nice.
I mean, I can describe them and look at them.
Yeah.
Some of them were, the ones about asbestos, probably want to do separately, just,
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, unless you're,
I don't remember what, yeah. Well, so, okay, so we want to finish these first.
Oh, I don't have any more.
No, I think we finished yours.
okay.
I'm going to be. Going back in order to.
Okay, so this is the last one. Chapter 10, the environment.
We have yeah, we got lots of work to do here.
Yep.
We pull the working document.
So,
So
motion,
do we want to continue?
All right, yeah, I guess we just start from. Was that,
This is the next one.
10.55?
10.55, goal 10K. Oh, yeah, so I had a few there that were like, well supporting construction. I think I asked a couple of them and you were kind of like, meh, so I think we'll skip this one. 10K8. Motion page 1056. Oh, no, sorry, I'm sorry. 10K8. Yeah.
Let me go get my hard copy.
Just point of order.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have 10K8, two points down, so we're talking about the same thing at the same time.
Put in information.
Our,
Do you want to defer your run on that or?
I'm gonna ask about, we're right there and we're browsing. I see no reason why Commissioner Brown can't make motion.
So so if Dan will yield, I will move my 10K8 as shown on there.
Yep, that's great.
So that's my motion. Are you seconding that, Dan?
Oh, I don't, can you read your motion there?
It's to restore policy 10K8 as it's currently written, which is to give careful consideration to the siting of industrial, commercial, residential, and other land use designations, etc., as opposed to discouraging it.
And 10K8 was on page 1055, I think.
Yes, I got it.
Okay, yeah, let me just,
So we have a motion. Did we get a second?
not yet. I just want to get to that. Okay.
Apologize. I'm gonna be going back and forth, so yeah.
That's good.
Forgive
It
me.
kind of helps us.
We didn't address any of these last time.
We stopped at some point.
We stopped.
Okay, 9 o'clock. Yeah,
So there was a discussion on 10K8, but it was done all the way at the top, and then we moved to Commissioner Brown's. And he started from 10A7 all the way down, and we stopped at 10K8.
so now we're on 10K8.
Yes.
So. Mr. Brown, made a motion, right?
Yes.
They have a second.
Yeah, my motion is to leave it as it was originally written, not to make the changes proposed.
I would second that.
Okay, and then my reasoning is simply this. Every single piece of industrial land, for example, I won't make that same statement about residential, but because I don't know, but I do know that every piece of industrial land is either encumbered by or adjacent to critical areas and buffers.
Commissioner Dunn.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Basically everything's wet. And so if you discourage development within, and especially within adjacent to critical areas, like the adjacent to is pretty broad. Is that within 1 feet? Is that 100 feet? Is that 1,000 feet? And to discourage means to not do it. So everything, you could read this expansively to say you're discouraging development anywhere because it's adjacent to, everything's adjacent to. So I do like the original language of giving careful consideration. And I think in our existing rules, regulations, we do have pretty strong consideration of wetlands and stormwater, everything. So I don't think we need to make those more burdensome, I guess.
Any further discussion? Commissioner Van Dalen.
I can support it just because of the careful consideration, and we have to be considerate of the whole county, the whole thing from one end to the other, all the way to Ross Lake. So, yeah.
Any additional discussion? Seeing none, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
Go.
Jefferson,
No.
Moseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Barton.
Yeah.
It passes.
Just a question, do we know where this came from?
Salted from. It's the orange.
Planning unit.
Planning unit.
Yep. Right, okay. I think it's helpful when we do see these changes, it's helpful to know who proposed them.
Okay.
Okay, what is the next one?
Do you want to go back up that 10K? I'm sorry, right. That one there, so page 1056, policy 10K. So you will, yeah, you're just 10K. Oh, is that the same one?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, never mind.
that was
Yeah.
my point, Dan.
You're exactly right. Yep. So then, yeah, let's not do, obviously, let's not do that. Next one, page 1061. Policy. Well, yeah, create a county-owned wetland bank, sells credits to both private and public entities with enough credit capacity for a 20-year planning period. New policy 10M. So, okay, yes, this is under the policies that the goal 10M is to conserve and enhance regulated wetlands. So I think this appropriate place to put that. I didn't see anywhere else in here where we have a policy where we say we'd like to create a wetland bank. I think it makes sense to have all that development if you're like, you know, for private developer, tell people like, give us money in exchange, we're gonna preserve these really important critical areas around this wetland bank, and then you can develop in the buffers or whatever of the less important kind of stuff. So that'd be my motion.
Do you wanna make it, is it in place of 10M8 7 or a new policy?
It is a new,
Okay, so
oh yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a new policy.
Policy 10M8 then.
Second.
I can support that.
Yeah, I think you already did make motions on creating wetland banks and economic development element and stuff, but it's fine here too.
Okay, excellent, we'll make it here as well.
Yeah.
Great. For any discussion? Commissioner Hanson?
I would think I'd be philosophically indifferent to a wetland bank because I don't really believe in wetland mitigation. But I worked at Lummi during the process of creating a wetlands bank, and it's an extremely complex and elaborate process that takes a lot of staff time and a lot of money to come up with something, and you may or may not break even on it depending on the capacity of the land you acquire and what you do to restore it. So I would be more comfortable with something about study the creation or something like that, because I'm not sure we could pull it off. And that would not be a great benefit if we went to a lot of expense and it came up to nothing.
Commissioner Brown?
I think first off, this is done all over the country, and it is the difference as to whether you end up having economic development or not, because when the land that you want to do economic development or housing on is encumbered by wetlands or buffers, a bank is the highest and best way of doing it, because you build you build habitat in large areas rather than doing it in small little chunks. So the city of Bellingham has realized it needed to do that, and is doing that now. Most jurisdictions try and do it. The hardest place in the country to do it, however, is in Washington State. It takes 10 years versus Virginia, it takes 18 months. So my only other comment is a friendly amendment. It should be plural, not singular.
The which word, sorry?
Banks should be plural, not singular,
Thanks.
because it's hard to find really large tracts of land that are suitable. And they also are done, they're based on the sub-basin or the, you can't, it's very hard to do one bank for the whole county.
Just, Eileen, should they create a county-owned wetland banks, or does the A come out of there?
Well, if I could comment.
And yeah, you're next. I just wanted to take care of that well.
Yeah, well, as a county representative, we're only gonna have one bank. We don't have flush pockets of money, so we do offsite mitigation sites and offsite mitigation programs, but we don't have a bank. And there is interest in doing our own bank, like the city has a bank and Lummi have a bank. But we would never be able to do more than one. We just don't have the money, so.
Well, let's dream big, it'd be amazing.
A bank would have multiple sites within it. But it's one fiscal mechanism.
Right, and that's what the city of Bellingham Bank is called, an umbrella bank, because it covers multiple properties in different areas.
Well, Bellingham, it must be good.
Commissioner Brown?
We should do two then.
Well, to Mark's point, if it's one bank but multiple sites, I'm fine with that. City of Bellingham has multiple sites. The Lummi gets away with one bank, I believe, because they're right at the mouth of the Nooksack. And therefore can serve the entire area of Wyra 1, whereas the city can only serve a couple of the subbasins because they're within or adjacent to those subbasins. So that's why you need multiple sites around the county as well.
Well, yeah, I'll stick with plural if that's okay. I know, Mark, it's even a dream to have one. But
Yeah, that's right. Let's start small.
Yeah, fair enough.
We'll be hopeful for many. Okay, cool.
So
Okay.
take the
Is
S
there
out.
any further discussion?
Yeah, or, well, okay. All right.
Seeing none, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
Abstain.
Jefferson,
No.
Roseary,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Barton,
Yeah.
passes.
N60.
That's one. Change the title. That one.
So 10P.
You got a correction. That's a correction, yeah, 10P19, yeah,
We don't have to vote on that.
that's correction, that's
Correction.
Scrivener's. Yeah, so it goes, yeah, so it should be just 18, but it's.
Oh, because we removed 17, but yeah,
Yep.
so it is already.
Out of format.
So, yeah, okay.
Okay, where are we at?
Commissioner Brown's 10M2.
Commissioner Brown. We are at your proposed motion.
Right, yeah, sorry. Yeah, so my point here was that when we're dealing with critical areas regulations, we have to meet best available science that other people can find, because that's what creates certainty to this process. It's problematic to introduce to be able to introduce best available science that is not available to the public readily. So we need some standard as to what best available science is.
I can second that to discuss it.
Commissioner Masseri.
Didn't we already discussed this?
In a different context.
In a different
Okay.
context, yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about best available science.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah. So what's the actual change?
Are you reverting back? Or what's your actual motion? Because it's not stated.
It's in the table.
Open it up in the critical areas regulations. So are you keeping develop and adopt and you're removing maintain?
No, this is
Yeah,
the same as
because-
what we talked about before. I think there, maybe it was in a different spot, but it's wanting to refer it to those specific Washington State or federal, right?
Yeah, so what you've got in front of you is not what I wrote, so that you haven't quite translated it across. So if you strike maintain.
Right. I just copied and pasted what you had, so
So Reddit would read, develop and adopt in the critical areas regulations, criteria to identify and evaluate wetland functions that only meet best available science as published by either the Washington State or the federal government.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, 'cause we did discuss that.
People need,
I think I voted, I think.
It failed.
Yeah, because there's a BAS isn't necessarily published by the government.
Yeah, we've already addressed.
This motion, the best available science motion from last time failed.
Yeah, right.
Why are we doing it again?
It was just in a different.
well, I had several versions of this depending on where we were. And because it comes up several times in the comprehensive plan.
How many more?
From the table, this is the last one. From the table, there are more that I haven't been able to.
Oh, okay.
I haven't introduced new ones, if that's what the question is.
So the 10A7 was another one about best available science, and that one was there was no second.
Okay.
This one is seconded by Commissioner Van Dalen.
Yes. Oh, and that's published.
Yeah, I guess Rod, my concern is that, best available science, I think it kind of has a definition already that's
Yeah.
broad about like, you know, it's not only published by the state.
Yeah,
it's, and I feel like it's kind of constraining to say you can only, best available science only comes from these two sources, and I think you can get good science from a variety of sources.
Like the UW.
So if I can respond.
Go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, my concern is this, is that best available science can be introduced, but sorry, the reason for denying something can be, the reason given can be because that's what the best available science says. But there is no obligation for that person to then identify the source of the best available science or to provide a copy of it. But to simply say the best, in my opinion, the best available science says you can't do this or you can't do that, right? And there should be some obligation to produce that best available science and to only produce information that has been peer reviewed as best available science, as opposed to one person's recommendation. And this works for both the applicant and the staff members. I mean, what's to stop me from saying, hey, best available science says you should do X, but I'm not giving you a copy of X, and it hasn't been peer reviewed, but I'm telling you it's best available science. And that can happen on both the staff side and on the applicant side, and there should be some definition.
Science, the earth is flat. The Bible says so.
What was that?
Never read that in the Bible, so.
Sorry, that was off the record.
I don't think the word best available science is in the Bible.
Mr. Hampton. Please see if that thermostat will go up over there.
You're not gonna accept the need for appropriate comments?
Yep.
69.7, 69 Fahrenheit?
I just saw you putting a shirt on and.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's all good. Keep us awake.
Yeah.
If I can-
I would say,
So, yield to you, Dan.
yeah, just real quick, I think if the concern is that you're, maybe it sounds like maybe you have a discussion with staff and they say best available science and you say, oh, show me your numbers, and they say no, then I could see a motion being like, hey, let's make a motion that if somebody uses the term best available science, then they have to show you what they used, like what paper are you using or what document are you using, that way you can kind of evaluate that.
Well, I think that's certainly half of it. Half of it is if a staff member, for example, says best available science says you have to do X, then they should be required to produce best available science. But the second question is, who decides whether that is best available science? The staff member, or the county, or the state government, or the federal government, or, I mean,
Well,
there has to be
hold
someone who decides what's best available science.
Yeah, so the county council adopts the critical areas ordinance, and the findings include bibliography that staff compiles of best available science, or the consultants compile on our behalf of all the peer-reviewed studies on the variety of critical areas research that are covered by the critical areas ordinance. And that's generally referenced as best available science. And then we get guidance from the Department of Ecology, the Department of Fish and Wildlife, of course, the Army Corps, US Fish and Wildlife all provide guidance as well for us. And it isn't, always black and white, but for some things, like for buffers and things like that, that ecology provides the guidance on, that's what we rely on, unless a local government can adopt something different, but then they have to produce best available science that says that's what we're going to rely on instead of the official government guidance. So it's not a black and white area, it's a gray area, but that's the process, right? It just gets adopted as findings as a part of the critical areas ordinance.
But so to that point, Mark, where would I find, can I get a copy of that list of best available science that the county uses?
Oh, yeah, staff has that.
I'd like to move the question.
You mean call the question?
Yeah, call the question.
Let's move.
Thank you.
Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Hanson,
Yeah, no, sorry.
Jefferson,
I was too
Jefferson?
busy. Yes. I mean, no. Sorry, I was laughing.
Mosseri,
No.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
No.
Barton,
No.
that motion fails.
I've voted against my own motion before.
Could I,
That.
Go ahead.
You hear a good argument. Well, why not? Nothing
Mark?
wrong with that.
Mark, could I ask you to send me a copy of that list of best available science, please?
Well, yeah, I'll send you the link to the bibliographies.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Annexes.
Did you know the annexes?
Where are we at?
Where are we at? What's next?
I had my comments, my motions part two, which a lot of them are just Scrivener's
Hold on one second.
changes.
I was pulling up Commissioner Mosseri's.
Oh, the one who.
I'm just going based on from what I received first. I apologize.
Nope, that's perfect.
Yeah, that's great.
I don't have my packet with me, so I'll go off of memory. That one is a list of the entities that are involved with something. Probably need to pull it up, and it's just to add businesses to the list.
N-7.
A little bit available science again.
Yeah, so it's a list of it's lead and coordinate efforts with all of these groups, and I didn't see businesses represented.
Oh, property owners.
Is that one motion by itself? That one thing, or did you want to do the whole bunch?
No, they're all different motions.
They're all, okay, I can second that motion.
No, that you put it in the government.
Yeah, by property owners and citizens groups.
Yeah, probably after citizen groups, businesses and government. Yeah, right there.
There you go.
Yeah.
I can't remember the heading, but that might explain what we were being on.
I can second it because it makes sense.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, is there any discussion? Seeing none, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Jefferson, Jefferson, Mosseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jefferson. Barton.
Yeah.
Passes.
She might be.
Mike.
10 minutes fast. She thinks it's 9 o'clock.
She might have gone comatose.
We're waiting.
I'll have to.
She left.
Okay.
I will know. Passes.
Yeah, page 10-8, the first paragraph. This is to revert to the original text.
I can just read it.
Okay.
If that helps. There are currently a multitude of regulations and administrative processes at the federal, state, and local level that together have become an excessive was it's existing language, and it was proposed to be replaced with duplicative
Yes.
and / or difficult to understand.
And I'm fine with the or, but I would revert back to excessive instead of duplicative. That's my motion.
I second.
Is there any discussion?
Common sense.
Dean, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Hanson,
No.
Osari,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Barton.
Yeah.
That
Julie,
passes.
Julie's back.
Julie, Jefferson,
Abstain.
it passes.
What's the next one?
We're getting stuff done. This is good. No, this is good. I like it.
Feeling better about your second term?
I am feeling good.
No complaint update for 8 more years.
Yeah, that's right.
Good timing.
Okay, my next one is a question with a potential motion on page 1020. 10E-11 and 10E-12 are both similar. One, I think, is to form a group to come up with the stuff, and the other one is potentially to then decide what we do with their conclusion. And I want to know what this would look like. It's similar to a critical areas code, but it seems like it's going beyond that. So it's a question for staff.
Okay, this is 11.
11 and 12.
Yeah, and they've been renumbered here, but anyway.
Oh, sorry, I grabbed the old one.
Don't worry. Consider conducting a public process with the public, technical experts, and decision makers to establish acceptable levels of public risk for each of the identified natural hazards. And it goes on some criteria about mapping hazard. This is about natural hazards. And this has been in here for a while. It's about, like, for example, mapping geohazards.
Landslides.
The big one that's really weird is lahars, volcanic hazards, right? So Mount Baker, USGS has mapped these lahar zones. If there was a major explosion and we had a Mount St. Helens event, it just sends this river of debris and mud down the river. And I think they modeled it as, coming out after Deming, but pretty much destroying Glacier and parts of Maple Falls. And so we have lahar regs that were difficult, very difficult to get through with, how do you handle that? It's one of those events, the hearings boards have ruled that they're a very low frequency, but high risk, right? So they could be just catastrophic but they happen once every 10,000 years. So how do you know, right? And how do you regulate land use during that time? So this was sort of trying to say, hey, we should really engage people to talk about that.
Okay.
We haven't done it. I mean, we kind of did it when we did the update, the last CAO update, because we had the Bible camp. And they were in the Lahar zone, you know, and so we worked out some language with council and them and about what they could do and where they could expand or couldn't expand and all that. So anyway, that's what this was.
Yeah, and this 11 says consider conducting, so then go down to 12. 12 says establish acceptable levels, but it says to establish it when we may not have even conducted the process to evaluate it.
You would have had to done 11 to do 12.
Yeah, so my motion is to revert back to consider establishing acceptable levels on that.
Because we haven't done the other one.
Right.
Right.
And we have a second,
I'll second it.
we have discussion. Seeing none, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Jefferson, Lazare.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. We got it.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Barton,
Yes.
passes.
It's just the consider
Yep,
and establish.
just reverting back.
It could blow towards Baker Lake too. There is that option. We don't know which way it's gonna blow.
Yeah.
5,000 years from now.
Yeah.
Or 10.
But I tell my kids, I got an 11-year-old and 14-year-old, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna blow south, we'll be fine, don't worry about it.
Fine. Hey, don't be fishing on Baker Lakes.
Did you ever see that Far Side cartoon with the two guys fishing in the boat on the lake? And there's a big nuclear mushroom cloud on the horizon. And then when the guy turns to his buddy and he says, screw the limit.
That's right. Yeah, that's awesome. I remember that. It's awesome.
Okay, next one is page 10-21, the last paragraph. It is discussing the different sources of domestic water. And rain catchment is not mentioned. And so my motion is to include rain catchment after individual wells. I think I said rain catchment systems.
Read about that. I'll second that. Just because I support that.
Amen.
Where?
Sunny support that.
Yes, yes, you would.
You have to go back to the page. I think it was page 10, whatever page I wrote up there.
21.
Yeah, the last paragraph on that page. This does
Keep going, water resource.
not match mine, so keep going.
Yeah, now you're.
Are you in the background summary?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
there you
go,
go.
keep going down, there's a spot up, back up. So, it reads that, these water resources, multiple uses, and then it says, surface water sources such as Lake Whatcom, Nooksack River, Lake Samish, Dixon Lake, Razor Lake, Hone Creek, Horseman provide water to more than half the county residents, with the remainder relying on groundwater. These drinking water sources are accessed through individual wells or, okay, so actually it should go from actually with the remainder relying on rain catchments.
Groundwater, comma,
Yeah.
rain catchment systems.
Yeah, but then it goes on to say individual wells, so it needs to go either before you see how it says the remainder are relying on. I think it should unfortunately, the rain catchment almost has to go first without rewriting more of that. Sorry, I put it behind the individual wells, because I didn't realize that after.
You
that.
want it before, in the sentence before?
With the remainder relying on range catchment systems and groundwater, these drinking water sources are accessed through either individual wells or from public water systems.
Well, how about individual wells or catchment systems or from?
Yeah, was rain catch considered a groundwater?
No,
I don't think so.
no.
Groundwater's coming out of the ground.
Yeah, well, I think it's fine to say remaining relying on rain catchment systems and groundwater. I probably would have put groundwater before because it's a bit more common, but.
Yeah, it is more common than rain catchment system.
Do we have a second?
She's putting it after, that's good.
Yeah, there you go. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. I think I seconded it.
Well, I just want to know, because
Yeah, the sentence after that will need to get changed then, because these drinking water sources are accessed through individual wells.
What about instead of wells, you said individual systems, comma, wells?
There you go.
And.
Sure.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so, but, yeah, right there, but just after individual
After individuals. Individual.
catchment systems.
Oh, you want to say and rain catchment systems out?
No,
Oh,
no, just add it in the second sentence there, just catchment systems, there you go. Comma.
Then comma, yeah.
And there could be a group rain catch system, but I don't know.
Yeah, let's just go with that. I think that's good.
Yeah, that's the motion.
is there any discussion? Seeing none, Eileen, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Wasseri,
Yes.
Van Dalen,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Jefferson,
Yes.
Barton,
Yeah.
passes.
My next one is merely a question because staff states that it's a code or a state code that we'll have to update to it, but we're at 9, so
Is that your last one?
yeah.
Why don't you do that one?
Let's do it, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
we'll get to mine.
Let's get it.
Okay, it's just a question on what this looks like. It
1046,
10H-14.
10H14, adopt and implement tree canopy goals and policies to support stormwater management in the NPDES area by December 31st, 2028. Per requirements of yada, yada, yada. Yeah, this is an NPDES permit.
Yeah, I was just curious, what does that look like implementing tree canopy goals?
It will mean probably tree retention.
As part-
And or afforestation and or planting more trees.
As part of their stormwater permits?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it creates potentially yeah.
It's, probably, it's green infrastructure, it's, swales and kind of going that way. I don't know the particulars of the permit requirements, but I know it's coming. This is from Public Works.
Yeah, it's another way that you may have to maintain.
Stormwater
It will,
system.
maybe these trees and stuff are outside of a critical areas, you'd normally be able to take them down, but you may have to leave them in order to achieve your stormwater requirements. But it sounds like that's a state mandate.
That's coming down from ecology.
So we don't need a motion for that.
I was just curious.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
That's the last one?
For
Yeah.
Dan,
Yeah.
motion now Dan.
Second.
Yeah.
Seconded.
Okay. All right.
Do you have more than hers?
No, I think that's my last one.
Okay.
I thought there's a lot in that
All
40
right.
minutes.
No other business, the meeting is adjourned.
So they can do that
Good
on
job.
whatever, December 11th. I think we put it on at the end.
We do feel optimistic.
That's all.
You know, I think.
Yeah,
That'd be part of it.
That makes sense. Imagine that.
Yeah. This Lummi Island.
Good job, Eileen.
You know, I have.
You think it's fast
Yeah.
from the hip and,
Well,
I
that's
guess maybe not.
you know.
capital facilities.
Not like.
Try.
don't-
Wait a minute.
Oh, right. You have a, yeah.
No, we're